Oops. Hello. Is anyone here yet? No. Looks like I'm the first. Haha. Guess I have to be the first. Who is? All right. There we go. Krista. And hi, Krista. And here's
Hi.
Peggy. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. How were your holidays? Did you go
They're
anywhere?
fine.
It's funny. Someone in my other class asked me, and I was like, they were fine. It was the same answer, I swear. I was like, you don't really want to know.
It feels like a long time ago, but I know it was only like a week ago.
I know. And it's funny because this was just what happened to me. And everything you're saying, one of the students asked me, how was your holiday? It was like, what? It's been forever. And then I went, oh, I guess we're okay. How time flies.
Right.
Oh man.
Exactly.
Hi, Gerard. Hi, Diane. Hi, Peggy.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Saul, I just saw you all morning. And hi, Alan.
Hello, everyone.
Good. How's
I
it?
know you're making fun of me, with Mexico and Argentina.
I did not make fun. I was
That's
actually,
okay.
it's actually not fun at all. I was hoping that they'd go through. Of course, at the last minute, if we play against, I would want to win. But I was hoping we could both go through. That was the goal.
Yeah,
So for you Americans at heart who have no idea what we're talking about, we are transplanted South Central Americans, North Americans, in fact, I believe. In Mexico, that's true. And we're all talking about real football, not like American football, but soccer. I can see a lot of hackles, a lot of back hackles raising immediately just by saying that. So anyway.
My family's from Italy and they didn't even make the finals.
I know. That is crazy. I mean, yeah, for everyone else who has no idea what we're talking about, Italy is one of the best teams and they didn't even make it into the World Cup. We're not even talking finals. It's like, it's been a crazy cup. Anyway, I watch soccer and talk about soccer every 4 years. Most people who are fanatics talk about it every weekend, but people like me, every 4 years, we watch the World Cup games. So anyway, and anyway, this whole thing came up because Saul is in my Illustrator class. And in the Illustrator class, he showed a very cool logo and he's, why just talk about it? Why don't I share you, since what I'm going to show next is the Padlet, but this is the Illustrator Padlet. And he's been making these really cool illustrations of Doha. And so he's been making illustrations of Qatar. See, this is something Saul, who's in the class with you guys in Photoshop, he's doing this kind of stuff in Illustrator, which is really cool. And so it's he has the Mexican World Cup, the jersey. So this is stuff that pretty cool, isn't it? So that's the guy that you're sitting with in Photoshop. That's what he's doing in Illustrator. So this wasn't just rivalry, just talking about soccer. It just came up because of these awesome illustrations that he's making. And then you did another one the first day, the other day. Look at this one. Very cool.
Wow.
All right. So anyway, if you want to get inspired, so hi everyone who's arriving. So thanks for posting those things and for having us talk. But other than that, I'm showing now the Photoshop Padlet, where about 3 of you guys posted the star creature, and I know there were more of you guys in class. Same with the woman who erased the face. I know more of you guys were, some of you have it down there. Okay. Good. Matt, that's Matt, and that's Matt, and that's Matt again. There's 4 of you guys posted. So remember to share your files with me. I need to know what you're up to. I need to see that you're doing the work. And if you're not doing the work, because you have questions or you don't know how to do it or you missed that day, and the video didn't work and like you didn't get it, watch the video of course first and try to do it. But if you still don't get it, post your things that don't work and ask questions. So for here, for example, Linda posted something that did not work for her. She's like, my blur layer is not working, but she shows me that, she shows me the blur layers, and now I can go in and say, okay, well, let's work and see what's happening, right? So this is not just for it. You don't need to show it to me when you got it right. You need to also show it to me when you don't get it right and you need help. All right. So please go back and post stuff. Now, I usually want to start with new things as well. So it's not like I always want to be hanging out on the photo that we did in the end, but I'm happy to spend the first 10-15 minutes doing review of stuff that needs to be reworked so that everyone can move forward at the same time, even though today we're going to do something different. So Linda, did you work with us a little bit more, or do you want to work with it now a bit, or what?
Yeah, if we could work with it now, that would be great. I did work with it, but I kind of cheated. I ended up using the eraser, trying to go in and do more cleanup, but
Yeah, so here's the thing. Go ahead and prepare your file, open it up, ready to share. But from what I'm seeing here already, you seem to have a layer that's the masking here is very translucent,
yeah,
right? So it's very lightweight. So you're not deleting all of it. And yes, see how you can still see the shadows, but then you've got nothing behind. Like this is off,
okay.
right?
Okay.
So if you're masking something out, what will you see underneath it is whatever you see underneath it. So there's nothing to see, right? So I'm not sure if this is the blurred one that you were hiding. So I'm not sure what's happening here. This one's supposed to be the good one, the non-blurred. So maybe turn this one on and see if that works, but I don't know. I'd need to see your file now to sometimes I can tell from the layers and other times I need a bit more help. And then I wanted to mention that Matt had asked me something a while ago. Matt, are you here? Oh, Matt's not here.
I'm here.
I'm here. Oh, there you go. There you go. Sorry. So when people add into the class, suddenly everyone's readjusts in my face and I can't see you. So he had asked me something that's actually really quick to show. He wants to learn. Let me just show you this. He says, this is another reason to use Padlet. He showed me something he wants to learn, and he wants to learn how to do this white border. Okay, so that's his request. And sometimes I can ask and sometimes not. And here it said, remind me. So with the work that we're going to do today, at some point, Matt, we're going to be doing some work. And can you say, oh, can you add that white vignette to it? And I'll say, sure. And I'll show you because it's a quick addition. In case I forget, but because it can be done to the file that we're going to do today. Okay.
Okay, great.
So now, I mean, it can be done to any file, but it works well for what we're going to be working with. So Linda, can you share your screen so that we can see what was happening there?
I think I moved my file and now
Oh,
find.
if you go to open recent, would it maybe remember it, or is it saying can't find it?
Can't find
Oh, because you probably moved it. Yeah. Ooh. Wow, my my throat is in pain. So I need a reminder. Who here is on VDI? And do I normally show things on VDI here in case there's a lot of you guys? I think it's just Saul and Linda Kennan right now. Is there someone else?
I think I'm on VDI because I
You're
go
on
through
VDI
the
too, Krista?
yeah.
Okay.
Krista does, yeah.
And I think everyone else is not. Diane, what's your situation? I think you have your own apps, right?
I got a free trial of Photoshop for a month that expires on the 12th. So I
Okay.
downloaded them. I have them on my screen, but I haven't gotten very far. Where I've been, I do house sitting, and where I've been, the internet has been really bad, and I kept on getting
Oh.
bounced out of your last class, and I just couldn't get back in.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I
So-
remember seeing your message to me. Well,
Yeah,
if you
I'm
manage
very
to
far
do-
behind.
Remember
Yeah.
that the videos don't depend on VDI, sorry. Oh my goodness, I think I need to go get a a lozenge. The videos don't depend on having a good internet connection, meaning as well, yes, to see them, you do need it, but meaning you don't have to be on Zoom and all that. So if you miss a lot of the class or quite a bit of it, just take your time during the week to try and catch up with the videos. So that, yeah, it's a pity if you're too far behind, it's harder to help you just kind of catch up than it's kind of do the whole thing, right? So right now I'm going to help Linda catch up a little bit.
I'll do.
All right. So Linda, try turning
Yeah.
on the bottom layer.
Okay.
Turning the little eyeball on. Okay,
Oh, there we
so
go.
there you go. Because before you were transparenting to nothing, and now you're transparenting to the sharp layer. The top layer is the blurred one, the bottom one's the non-blurred one.
Okay.
Cool. Actually, that worked. So there you go. I didn't know if it would take more, but that worked. Quick fix.
And my other hard part was when I was trying to go back in and do more cleanup on the blur layer.
Yeah.
I think I just missed a step of how to select it or with the steps.
Yeah,
here.
the blur, so go to the right because the layer, turn off the eyeball on that one that says blur layer copy. Because I don't know that you need that. Turn the eyeball off. Yeah, so that one's extra. Like the blur layer is the one beneath you, and the layer on top is the sharp one, right? So that one that was in the middle, unless you're trying to fix the top one, isn't necessary.
One isn't necessary.
Well, let's see, turn off the eyeball of the top one and turn on the eyeball of that second one. And let's see, turn the second one on now. Yeah, so that's your hole. So that's the one that's not necessary. Interesting. So turn on the top one and get rid of this bottom one because it doesn't provide anything. Yeah. It's like it was just the negative version of the mask.
We were saving the version of the selection.
Oh, for you to move further. Yeah, got it. That's true. So you can keep that, or this is something I taught last week at the end of class. I always promised not to teach anything new. And it wasn't necessarily something new that I was going to teach people, but someone asked me, how do I save a selection? And it was after class. So I showed them. So in the end, it was a bit new, but it's only because it was based off of a question, not because I would have normally taught you how to save a selection. But in this case, since you already have layer one, so anyway, if anyone wants to learn how to save officially, like save a selection, the last 10 minutes of last week's class, write it down and watch it because I showed you that. But anyway, in this case, if you want to pick up the selection to keep working on it, all you need to do is hold down your, what are you, Mac or PC, Alt or Option key, depending on whatever you are, and then click on that thumbnail one time. So go to the thumbnail and do a simple click,
Okay,
but you need to be holding.
the Option key,
Are you Mac or PC?
Mac.
Okay, so actually, hold on. I just noticed that I haven't saved my Illustrator and it's in the way. Let me just get rid of my Illustrator for a second so that I don't have, don't say, sorry, my computer's gonna it's gonna be too much for it to handle all things at once. So I'm, give me one sec here. Okay. So I'm back on you. So what did you say? What are you, Mac or PC?
I'm Mac.
Okay, so then hold on the command key
Okay,
and then give a quick click on that thumbnail. Not on the thumbnail, on the layers.
okay,
There you
okay.
go. So your selection picks up again, and then you can keep working on adjusting between the fingers, and then there's like a little thing sticking out of that stick and so on and so forth.
Okay. And so then let's say I want to clear this little.
Yeah, so now hold that, go choose the lasso tool.
Okay,
And the lasso is one to the left. Yeah, that one.
okay,
Yep, perfect. And then now hold your Option or Alt key.
okay,
So it's going to be minus. And now draw that little triangle that shouldn't be there. Kind of draw it out.
okay.
Yeah, click and drag along that finger. Yeah, and then back out. And then, yeah, you need to grab a bit more because you didn't grab the beginning.
Okay.
There you go. And then so on and so forth, right? And you just do it with more and more care in between the fingers and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then, and in between, so let me just show her. This is what I did the last 10 minutes really quickly. If you want to then save this selection,
Mhm.
because say that you worked for 10 more minutes on it and you need to go answer the phone or something, you don't want it to disappear, then go up to select at the very top, all of the tools, select, and then go all the way down to the bottom and say save selection. So this is what I said that I taught at the very end of
Okay.
last week.
Great.
So here you can say, you know, version 2, 3, 4, as you go progressing with it, you save, oh, sorry, someone's joining and I'm not letting them in. And then you say, okay, say, okay. So then you go off, you close your file, you take 3 days to come back, whatever it is. So go ahead and get rid of your selection, Command D, right? So that you say that you don't have it because you're open your, say Command D, or select, deselect to get rid of your selection.
Okay.
So say that now it's 3 days later, right? And if you do what I just did, which is select from there, you'll start again without your corrections. You'll start without that finger. So now you need to load that selection. So now the one that you did progress on, the one that had less finger space in between. So now go up to select and say load selection. Load selection. Which
Okay.
one? That one. And then say, yep, selection there too. Good. And say, okay.
Okay.
And there you go. See how you've got that little bit of the triangle taken off, which had you kept working on it could be quite a bit more work.
Yeah.
And that was how you keep clearing your selection and working on it until you're finally ready. And then you just apply it again, right?
Okay. Great.
So by the way, those of you who I said, hey, watch the last 10 minutes, this is basically what I did. So now you don't need to watch the last 10 minutes. It was just how to, when you're working hard on a selection and you're doing a lot of good work on it and you can't like apply it yet, do you really lose all that work? No, just save it and then pick up from wherever you left off. Okay.
Hey, Deanna, one quick
Yes.
thing that's
Mhm.
kind of on topic. Oh,
Yeah.
first off, I'll say about the whole football thing. I'm totally on board with what should be football. I mean, yeah, I'm totally on board because it is, the game is played with the foot and it is older than American football. So anyway, you don't have to, I don't need to be sold on that one. But
right.
okay, but okay, so oftentimes, and you've covered this, oftentimes we'll have made a tedious selection and then we'll go off to another layer and we'll work and then we'll come back to where we made the tedious selection. We'll go, my selection's gone. It's no
Yeah.
longer showing selected. I know it's a simple click something and it just pops
Mhm.
right back, but I always forget what that is.
So if you're on a Mac, it's
It's a Mac.
command, hold on the command, and
Yeah.
then simply click the thumbnail of that thing, which is already cut out. Be it a mask
Click-
or be it, in this
Oh, click the
case,
thumbnail.
yeah.
So you're not,
So
you're not
like,
click,
we,
yeah.
we just did it with Linda. She
Yeah,
had
and
the
I
cutout.
thought you did.
Yeah,
I
she had
thought
the
you
cutout
did.
person. If you
Yeah.
have a cutout person, that's best case scenario. You
Yeah.
hold command and then you click the cutout person. But if this were a mask, you click the command and then you
Command
click the
click.
mask.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
If you're a PC user, then you hold down control and then you click the mask or the selection and then it pops up. But in case of a really intricate one that you might not have yet cut out, like if you don't have a cutout image, like say that Linda didn't have that image cut out and she was just tediously working on a selection, then you really can't save it on the image because the selection hasn't happened. Create a quick mask. Why not? It's as simple and save it that way, or go up to select, save selection. Okay. Both
Yeah, yeah,
ways.
yeah.
Both-
Oh, that
both ways
segues
work.
into one more thing, and I don't want to burn more time, but
No, that's fine.
if you, let's say you've selected that. I've got it like you select a bird out of a sky and
Mhm.
you want to keep that file to use in the
Mhm.
future,
Mhm.
maybe a year down the road, you want to use it. I
Yeah.
noticed the way we're saving ours, it's on channels. We save that selection and it saves it as
We saved it
channels.
as a mask, but masks get saved. I've never really had you guys open channels. Let me show you what he's talking about, guys. I've
Yeah.
never had you guys open channels, but it is saved that, but they do save in channels. Let me see. For some reason, my file is not coming up in the recents in my VDI. So I'm gonna have to do it in my regular one. So let me share my regular Photoshop for this. So here's my, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the selection. So when I just said that things, he's talking about channels. I've never shown you channels, but channel is right there. If you go to channels, that is that selection that I saved. Okay, so watch. This says that Star Moons, someone has talking in the background, maybe Matt, maybe.
First, we're going to take a passive.
Okay, I just muted you, Matt, because there is people in the background talking. So say that I make this selection. Okay, I'm going to make a little circle selection right there. That's all, whatever. Say that this was really complicated. If I do what we just did with Linda, that I said,
she's going to come back.
oh, no, it's Lisa. Lisa, it was you talking, so I muted you now. Okay, so Matt, I muted you unnecessarily. If you need to talk to me, unmute yourself. It was Lisa. All right, so here's a circle. If I go up to select, save selection, right? And I say circle, whatever. So that's the name I called it. Notice that that's where it'll find. You'll find it in channels. You see that? So I don't need to say you that. What I said is, once it's gone, go up to select and just load it by saying load selection and choose your the circle one, for example. You can do that, or like Matt said, you can come to circle to channels and then do what I just said, which is command and click, and your circle gets selected again, or command and star moon, and there's that selection happens again. So it's the plan B. If you don't want to say load selection, come to channels. That's where they hide. Okay, selections, that's where they are. But I never have you go there, because really that's all it's useful for. And in the end, it's just as easy to just command click right here to pick it up, not needing to go all the way to channels. But if you work beyond it, then and saved it in that other section, so then that's where they are. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'm going to stop that share, and God, I think there was one more thing in the Padlet that came up. Does anyone remember asking me? I'm looking at the Padlet. I think that was the only question, was Linda's, that was an actual question. I think the rest of you were just like, oh, it doesn't look as good, and others got really good. But other than that, I think everything looked pretty good. Matt, you did it again. No, I think the rest of the people who posted, it worked fine. As usual, for better or for worse, there's a little bit more you can do as far as being more accurate with your selections or things like that. But for the most part, it was working really well. All right, so let's move on with today's work. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh,
Deanna, I have a
yes.
question. It's Krista.
Of course.
I think this happened last time, but my Photoshop, when I click on it, it says the cloud isn't syncing, so I'm not able to I guess open anything. So I didn't know. I think
so you need to refresh your Google Drive. Go ahead and share your screen, and I'll show you how to do that again. Remember, you guys, when you're on VDI, you always have to disconnect and reconnect your Google Drive each time you open up VDI. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Oh, wait, no, this isn't. This is, the iCloud isn't syncing. No, but that's the iCloud, which isn't necessary. Yeah.
Well, I've been trying to open anything in the bridge. And it won't let me open anything. It says that it's.
All right, go ahead and go to one of them that's a JPEG, any JPEG. Right.
Okay, so this one I tried to open.
Right click, right. We'll go to a different one then, just in case. Just go.
Okay.
Just.
I guess this one.
Okay, so right click and go to open with at the very top, and let's see if that helps you. Go to Photoshop 2022, one down. No, you try. You're opening an Illustrator. No. That's fine. Go try again. Right click, open with.
Okay.
Photoshop. It's thinking, and now it's opening Illustrator. So it opened in Photoshop in the background, but it's open in Illustrator. So now you have
It
to wait
looks
for
like
Illustrator.
it.
When Illustrator finishes loading, go ahead and close Illustrator, but then they started open in the background. So when you double click it, it's not working, which a couple of people in your case have told me, then you have to kind of do the open with, tell it what to open with, because otherwise it doesn't really know.
Okay.
But it's working. Illustrator will take a bit, especially because we're on Zoom. I'm going to stop your sharing and then it'll come up and you can close it and you'll be fine. So by the way, thank you for those of you who said hi in the chat. Can everyone else please go to the chat and give a little hey ho that you're here, please? Because there's only 4 people in the chat and I see many more of you in person or present. Okay, and I think Alan was trying to ask something, but you're not at the chair right now, Alan. So maybe you were just saying hi, but I thought you were trying to ask something. But since you're not there, when I see you again, I will ask you. Okay, let me share my screen and I'm going to share as usual 3 different ones. And here we go. All right. So let's go to Bridge, I guess, and let's head down now. One of the instead of me telling you, let me backtrack. What are you wanting to do with Photoshop? Okay, so like I'm going to stop my share for a second because I want you guys to see me, because I was about to tell you why you would choose Photoshop, but I want to know, for example, I know Patricia is making a book of her family, right? So what kind of things did you do? And I know you also are using, I believe, Lightroom. What do you do with Photoshop? And this question goes to everyone. I'm addressing Patricia directly because I know she's working on a project, but anyone, what's the point of Photoshop and what do you want it for? I have 3 directions I can take we have 3 classes left. And I was thinking today that I want to know what the class wants more versus what I think you should do. So give me an idea of what you like to do with Photoshop. So Patricia, and I'm only calling on you because I know you have a project going, if anyone else wants to speak, but.
I was working on selections. I want to do add my granddaughter in a picture and my son that he's absent. So selections
To be able to keep doing compositing, then to add someone who's not in a picture, that kind of thing. It's funny. I participate in a couple of different. I don't use Facebook for regular posting much, but I do go to certain work groups of certain things that I'm interested in. I have this one Facebook group that I belong to, where the most requested request always is take someone away or add someone, take someone away or add someone. It's constant. I showed you guys the other day how to add, or not add someone. I showed you guys how to replace someone, right? But yeah, someone passed away. It's so sad. You always hear, my son passed away. Can you take this silly guy who's in the photo and leave me just with a photo of my son or something like that, which breaks my heart with that kind of stuff. But anyway, so that's a typical request. And what you're saying is that for your photo book, yeah, you want to add.
Yeah, can I add to that, Diana? I mean,
Yes.
I would just like to say that interests me as well, if I can chime, but also just the ability to add, multiple objects, and create an interesting collage of things, or, which would be the same thing. So
Yeah.
doing that in detail. And also I'm always fascinated, and I've learned how to do this and I always forget, and how to isolate a color. The effect where you isolate one color, but make the rest of it sepia tone or black and white or whatever. But you let one thing, like let's say a woman in a red dress, but a red dress is red, but everything else is black and white. Stuff like that, I think is really, really pops, and I always forget how to do that.
You guys already know how to do that. And I'm not just saying you who might have forgotten, but everyone in this class already learned the skills to do that. So that's a good point. And I usually have that example as one of the things I do, but I don't have it this time, but I can easily do that to like the photo we're going to work with today. So again, not only remind me about the vignette, but remind me, well, how would I make the rest black and white? I can show you. It's with the skills that you know how to do it. So I'll show you.
Yeah.
All right, so cool. Anyone else? Making collages, says Sabrina, to post on website. Like as a piece of art or because making collages is one thing, and then to post on website, like it's a business website. Like what, can you be a type?
So I'm the webmaster for the ski club
Oh, okay.
website. So if I had, maybe 4 or 5 photos and I wanted to kind of put them all together and put them on a page, maybe I'm advertising the Christmas party and I've got 4 great photos from last year, how to kind of arrange them so they look cooler instead of just, block.
Yeah, 4 blocks. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Totally. That's a great point. All right. Any other thing completely different? I hear you.
Yeah.
Diane.
Oh,
Peggy.
I have one more thing.
Wait,
I'll let
wait.
somebody, I'll
Hold
let
on.
somebody else speak.
Yeah, let Peggy for a
Yes.
minute. Yeah.
Retouching, taking out wires and lamp posts and garbage cans and stuff like that out of pictures.
Okay, great. Well, today we're going to do a bit of retouching, and I'm going to use me as a sample. Actually, you're going to be taking some, maybe some little bags under my eyes and some wrinkles off of me, but we're going to be doing a bit more retouching, maybe whiten some teeth and stuff like that. But the tools of retouching that we'll teach you will also work for wires, and we can take a little tree out of the background or something. And yeah, so perfect. That's a great, and you know how to do that, but yeah, that's probably the kind of thing that's a typical, you got this great shot and then there's this little inconvenient wire. And as long as it's not photojournalism, why keep it there, right? Let's just take that little wire out. All right. Any other ideas off the top of your head?
Just one last thing, Deanna.
Yes.
Always the last thing, right? I deal a lot with old scan photos, and maybe they were low resolution, maybe not necessarily blurry, but low resolution. And I try to go into the function where you can increase the size of an image, and then you can set the correct defaults for enlarge, but it just seems like it makes the file bigger, but it doesn't interpolate and improve it.
Oh yeah, no. Thanks for saying that. No, it won't improve it. The doubling the function just doubles the function. It's as good or as bad as it was.
Yeah.
Then there's other functions to fix it. But yeah, the doubling the function doesn't somehow make it any better.
Right.
Meaning the good news is in the past, if you double the size, it would make it much worse. The good news is now it doesn't. It keeps it looking just as good or just as bad, and then you keep needing to use all your other skills.
That's good to know. So it is
All
an
right.
improved function, but you can't, there's no interpolated thing that it will actually add pixels and sharpen, old photo. That's
If
probably
only
impossible.
there was one button to say,
Yeah,
make perfect.
right. That's what I
No.
want.
Here, let me feed this photo in and you make it look good, you say to
Yeah.
the program. And there are little auto buttons, but there aren't the most typical ones. So, all right. So the reason I was asking you that, because for those of you who take this class a few times, you know that each time I have to choose, and this, I was talking yesterday with actually the VP, we're trying to create some new programs. And the frustrating part of Photoshop class is that there's so much to teach you, and I always have to choose which, right? And what I do is over the year, I try to choose a bit differently. Sometimes I'll spend more time with raw, another with masking, another with, with selections and different things, because it's all tools you need, but there's not enough time to teach you all of it, right? So knowing a bit what you're more interested lets me know right now whether to spend a bit more time in raw or to spend a bit more time in in retouching or stuff like that. Now, quite a few of you guys mentioned retouching, so I just want to make sure that that I have there my Photoshop class files. I was not in there yet, so let me grab those. I'm going to see, I want to make sure that the file that I'm looking for is something that you guys have, because I see the wrinkles, GAB, but I don't see this one. Yeah. So this is, okay, so go all the way to the bottom. It's called Waterfall Drink. This is the part that I didn't know, because I know that in my regular files, I have it with the right name. But in the, look, go to the last two photos, okay? Wrinkles, me, and waterfall drink, they are the same photo. You see that? So this photo here is, if you notice in Bridge, it's showing that it has these little sliders. Do you, someone remember what that means?
It's currently being worked on.
Yeah, or more importantly, it means it's already been, okay, first of all, what does .dng mean? Make it a little bit bigger. .dng versus .jpeg. Any pointers here?
It's a raw photo.
Yeah, a .dng, it's a digital negative. It means it's a raw photo. So it means that you have taken this picture with camera that has the capability of just leaving the pixels the way they are and serving you a much bigger file with more detail in it, versus the typical file you get out of a regular camera. Regular phone is a JPEG, which means that it already has been post-processed. Your camera has already done some post-processing. Now, I looked at everything I did in this class versus, because I taught Photoshop twice this session, and so it's confusing me. And I'm pretty sure I haven't done any in-depth raw here. Have I? I'm not going to, but I don't think that with this group I've done any in-depth raw. People who are only in this one and not at the first one, I haven't done any in-depth raw here, because I know last class we did the coffee cup and stuff, but this one, okay, I just wanted to confirm. All right, just because I go through all my notes, but this one has had all these breaks and it's a little bit harder to make sure I remember. Okay, so a DNG digital negative if it's already been worked in Bridge, you will see these little icons, meaning I've already worked on fixing this image. If I see at the very top, I have a CR2. A CR2 is also a Bridge, a raw file, and it's already been worked over here. Then I have an NEF, it's already been worked, okay? NEF is also a raw file. So anything that's not a JPEG or not a PSD, for the most part, is a raw file. And if this little icon is on them, that means they've already been processed. So for example, this coffee cup that looks white, before it was processed, here, and I'm gonna just actually copy it and paste it to show you. I'm gonna do this is am I in VDI? Okay, so I'm gonna do, I can't do it because it's VDI, can I? Copy and paste. Yeah, I was able to do it. Sometimes VDI doesn't do it. Oh, so I just wanted to show you that when you have, I have two together right now. If I don't necessarily have to do that, but I wanted to show you that if I go over here and say, well, I do or don't like what's there, I just want to go back to how it was originally, back to how I started. I can right click and you can go back to the develop settings and go back to camera raw defaults. Okay, now I'm doing this, so for the ones who are on VDI, I'm doing it to the group photos on VDI, but you guys go do it on your own. The one that you downloaded has been worked. When I say, once again, right click, develop settings, camera raw defaults, or you could also say clear settings. In the end, it basically brings you back to a photo without having been worked. I'm going to go to camera raw defaults and see how it turns yellow. That's because this is what we started with. Okay, now it's still then by camera raw defaults showing me that it's worked. So although it did go to 0, this is how this photo started. That doesn't mean that the icon disappeared, versus if I go to develop settings and actually clear settings, it disappears like it's never been touched. You see the difference? The photo still went back to 0, right? But the icon sits there as if it's been worked versus not if you just do camera raw default versus clear settings. All right, so the reason I'm showing you this is because this has been processed in Camera Raw and ended up looking like this. Meaning, let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see it over here. Without, oh, I guess you'd have to go down and down. So this photo here turned into this one, be it, oh, this is actually a black and white version. Interesting. Anyway, this or this are two very different versions of the same photo. Normally I wouldn't have two of them, but this was just to show you. So let me close this again. That's better. So anyway, down here, this photo. Oh, did someone make a copy of this one? No, because you can't do copies. Why did a copy of this one just show up? That's weird. Did I make this a copy of this one? I don't think so. Anyway, I'm confused now because I'm in VDI and only I can change these. Anyway, so anyway, I want you to clear. I want you to right click on this little icon and go to the develop settings and clear the settings and have that photo go back to its original. But there's not much to change here. I'm just gonna delete this one. I don't know why this one appeared out of the blue. Anyway, and it's also a DNG file. So we're not going to spend a bazillions of time just on raw today. We're just going to do some fixes here, and then we're going to see what we can do in what are the limitations of raw and what you can then do if you want to retouch this photo and why you have to go into Photoshop. Okay, so it'll cover a lot of the different things that you guys have mentioned today, other than collaging right now. This one won't cover collaging, but everything we've been doing up until now in mass gaming class has been about collaging. So let's double click on this one. If double clicking doesn't work for you, you can also say right click and then say open in Camera Raw, which sometimes for VDI, that might be a better way to do this.
Diana, in the VDI, I can't see the photo in the DNG. I can only see it as a JPEG.
Huh. I just had two and I deleted it. Oh. Let me go back to VDI. Okay. 1 second. I need to show you this because it happened. It looks like they've updated the Camera Raw. So if you get a message like this where something is updated, that's okay. They keep this one always, every time a new camera comes out, 2 or 3 new companies put out new cameras, Camera Raw has to update for all the settings for that camera and stuff. And then sometimes they have better, like they used to not be able to do much masking in Camera Raw, and now they're really beginning to do masking, which is pretty cool. So the Camera Raw is getting many, you can do object masking, all the stuff that we couldn't do before, you guys. You can do a lot of now, so that's pretty cool. But so this is telling you, I'm gonna take a quick screenshot of what it says is new in this one. Give me a sec, because once you say goodbye to this one, it'll disappear. Okay, so you have to get started. Now, bring this down. Let me.
Hey, Diana.
I need to go, hold on. I need to go and see if I can, if the people who are on VDI don't have the photo, this isn't going to work. So let me go to Bridge for a second and close this up. Let me cancel. Photoshop shared drives. Yeah, I am in the actual shared drives and I have it. Can you share your screen then to see what's happening? If not, I can add it there. Okay. Oh, there it is. Somehow it's not showing you the icon, but it's there. It's the one that's called Waterfall Drink. It's got the wrong name. I don't know why. So right click on it. It's the next to last photo. And let's see if it opens. Let's see if it does. And it says open with. So the fact that it doesn't say open with Camera Raw means that it's not really showing it to you as a Camera Raw. but I'm using it, so it's weird. Why is it not showing for you?
Yeah.
And you just connected to your Google Drive. You just did a whole reset, right?
Yeah, I
Google
mean, I follow the directions
Yeah.
that I've been
Oh,
following.
no. Yeah, but you have a lot of, see how there's like gray in front of a lot of
Mhm.
your files? That would imply that you haven't done a fresh reset of your Google Drive. Like, did you sign in today to Google Drive from scratch?
Yeah, I signed in at 1 o'clock and was trying to get all set up.
Let me go upload it again, because otherwise we'll have to, I have a lot of stuff that I want to show you on that photo, and I don't really, I can come up with another photo to use, but let me see if I can see what's happening to you, because I would prefer to stay in that. So give me a sec, you guys. Let me go to my shared drives. Photoshop shared drive. Follow Photoshop. There it is. Let me go into my download files, Photoshop. What if I upload it again? Would that help? Let me see.
I just closed out Bridge and opened it again, and now it's showing up. So
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know what happened between 1 o'clock and now.
Okay, then I just changed its name because I thought, but oh, if it's working, and is it clicking, is it right clicking and working? Like, can you open it?
I can
raw?
do the camera raw now. Now
You
it
can.
says
Okay,
camera
good.
on it.
All right, good. So then I'll leave things be, because if it's working, it's working. Everyone else has the files. Then good. That was an easy fix. Just refresh the app. It probably was open. Maybe it was open before the initial refresh. Okay, so back to my raw Bridge. No, I was showing it to you in here. Why? Oh, I have the wrong. There we go, Firefox. Okay. Why does it new share? I still have the wrong. There we go. I had to reset what I was sharing with you guys. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to right click and open in camera raw. Okay, so that's what we're doing. And here we go. So this window tends to open smaller than the other window, and then it's hard to know where one ends up and one doesn't end up. So if you haven't yet done it, just go to this little right, and let me put my my spotlight on my mouse, because it looks like it when it's dark like this. Go over here and click on it to expand, so that you don't have to wonder what part is the image and what part is not the image. And so here we have an image that, to start with, when you first open it up, there doesn't seem to be anything particularly huge to fix. You know, it's not one of those photos where there's a ton of dark, a ton of light, a ton of, you know, problems, things like that. So what can and what can we not do in RAW? If this photo is raw and it comes this way, you could think, well, I don't know, one of the things we want to do, you know, how you said, Matt, is there any way for the computer to just tell you what to do? Well, you could try to see what the computer.
I wasn't really asking for that much, but I was asking, you know, if
I know.
there's some interpolation thing that would improve the,
No, it doesn't. I'm just joking a little bit. I kind of try to use what you guys say. No. But there is that. That's what I'm trying to say. If you have a photo that's pretty traditional, like there's nothing really strange about it, Photoshop can kind of interpret what's on it, and it can tell here there's two people, there's some background. It can probably tell at this point that that's snow. We'll find out, because one of the things you can do is go over here to the beginning of Camera Raw, and the top where it says edit, and just hit auto one time and see what Photoshop tries to do. Now, granted, it's clear that what I said about this photo not being too terribly good or bad is because barely anything happened. I'm going to click again on auto to turn it off. And now I'm going to stare at the photo. I'm going to put it at 100%. I'm going to click here on 100%. And I'm going to right there so that I can see it 100%. And I'm going to hit auto again and really pay attention to maybe the snow, to maybe the skin colors. And I'm going to hit auto one more time. A little bit of a change in his skin, a little bit of change. I'm going to turn it off. It's subtle. It's taking a little blue off. Let's see what it's doing to me. Oh, it's making me a bit warmer. So yeah, it's making a little change, right? But it's pretty subtle. You guys are seeing the subtleties of what it's changing? Yeah, because this photo, for better or for worse, there's nothing egregiously wrong with it. So you can go ahead and click on this arrow and say fit in view again, so you see the whole thing. So some photos, it does an absolute disaster when you do this. And for some photos, it actually does a really good job. It depends on what you are showing. So when a photo is kind of okay, you do the auto and nothing much happens. So then it's up to you to decide, well, is there something else I want to change or something else I want to do? So in this photo, since it's raw, and here's what I wanted to say about photos. The problem about shooting in raw is that you always have to post-process them in some way or another, because you can't, like, say, send a raw picture to Costco to print, for example, right? I mean, if you go to a professional printer, maybe you can send them a raw image, but for the most part, you got to make sure that if you have a raw picture, and now this is taken with a phone. In fact, you can tell this is Apple Pro RAW. This is an Apple phone that took an photo in RAW, but it's a phone photo. But you still have to process it. So you might want to try that and see if it makes anything obviously better or worse. And if you think it's better, you leave it on. If not, you don't. Or you might say, well, I want to do some things to this myself. And here's where I'm going to show you one of the places where you can do the vignette, Matt, that you asked about, that white vignette that he asked. One of the things you can do here is actually head down over here. What's open automatically is the basic settings. We're going to skip over them for a minute. I'm going to collapse basic by clicking on this little arrow here. Okay, that's all I did. Next to the word basic, collapse it, because there's other things that we can do. And I'm going to head over down to effects. There's other ways to do the vignette. I'll show you in Photoshop versus in RAW. But here we are in effects. Here's vignetting. And over here, the vignette, the basic vignette is just right and left. To the left, you get black. To the right, you get white. Okay, so it's like, now when you see what's happening to me, it's going blue and red, and it's kind of like, weird, what's happening to you? That's because I have these two little clips turned on. I'm going to go ahead and not explain those right now, but let me turn those off. And then, yeah, so here I have a black vignette. See how everything on the borders is going black? And then here on the right, I have a white vignette. Now, that said, there's very little control. It's either on or off, right? So if you want a bit more control about the vignette, go to this little arrow and open up to get more choices. And then you get more choices now in your vignetting. So now you can say, okay, I want some white vignetting, which is what you wanted. And I'm just saying this because he had shown this as a request. So if you head over to white vignetting, let's make it really extreme. Let's make it really, really extreme to the right for a second, just so you can see these examples better. So move it way over to the right, even if that's not what you want. It doesn't matter, move it to the right. And then notice that we have different choices. You can have it be highlight priority, color priority, paint overlay. Let's say with the default, which is highlight priority. Then you can choose how much you want to feather, what shape you want it to be, and where its center point is. So if I look at this image, I feel like there's a lot of white here, but not so much there. So maybe I want to change where that center point is. So I might want to move it a little bit. And so you just, if you don't even want to care what the numbers are or whatever, you just move things around to be a bit more of a shape that you want. I'm going to put that one back to the middle like if you don't know where the middle is, double click and it'll pop itself back to the middle. Then the roundness can change. I can make it be more round or more oval, right? And so it can be a bit more to the corners like this. So that's like roundness. And I'm going to maybe make it be a little bit more to the corners. And then you can feather it more. So it can be a softer or a harder transition. So this is a much harder transition, and this is a much softer transition. Okay. So you choose how much you want to feather it, how much you want to have it go in or out. Now, my only negative of this kind is that however many options it's giving you, and by the way, I don't like it going straight to white like that myself, but giving the example here. One thing I don't like about this, it makes it very easy, right? But one thing I don't like about this, and let me head back to the Padlet. This is not a self-chosen shape. So this one here that Matt showed that he wanted to learn how to do, see how it's none of the ones that we just did. Here you have like the edges of the photo, and you even have a little one that goes in a bit too more. So to do this one, you have to do it by hand. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to do that one by hand when we get into Photoshop. But some people don't like that this is so irregular. They want it to be even, in which case the even one you can get here done in RAW. Now, I personally don't like going to white on my end of things, but it's great. Like, you know, Matt worked with all these really old photographs, and so it kind of makes sense because a lot of those did have that to want to maybe have photos that work inside of that. I actually do like going to dark. Now, not again to black like this, but I do like sometimes having darkness in an image. Now, a light amount, just a bit of darkness helps sometimes focus. It's very clear in this photo what's the point of the photo. It's a portrait, people in the snow, it's stuff like that. It's not like, but sometimes you have images that it can get distracting. Your eye might want to wander to the right or to the left and stuff like that. So a little bit of a dark vignette helps center your eyes in, right? If there's a lightness here in the sky, so if you move the vignette a little bit to the left, it kind of helps center the attention a little bit on the center. So yeah, a little dark vignette is a good idea. Anyway, play around with all these things with your own photos and see, because each photo demands its own, you know, what it's gonna do better or not do better depends on the photo that you have in front of you. Okay. So play and see which one works best. Like this paint overlay is subtle enough on this one that it might be better. Anyway, that's where you do vignetting in RAW. Okay. And then if you want to close all those options, you can again open the little right hand arrows, open more options, and then this one closes the whole thing. So anyway, I left a little tad of dark vignetting on it.
I like the dark.
Yeah, I just did a tad of dark vignetting. It kind of helps. Yeah. And then over here, what I don't like about this photo too much is, of course, it makes sense. This faces in the sun, this is not. And so it almost looks like I might want to lighten this one a little bit up or tone this one down a little bit. It has a harsh shadow, that kind of thing. But yeah, other than that, it's just a snapshot. So it doesn't really deserve too much bothering of working here in RAW. But I do think this photo will be able to get a lot done in Photoshop. So I'm going to go to 100% again. And let's pay attention to a couple of things. First of all, me. Here's me. Not necessarily too happy with what I look like, and not because I think I look old or anything, but you know, maybe I can or not fix a few things in this photo. I always put my son for retouching. I put other people for retouching. I figure, why not put me? What I really don't like here, for example, is this tuft of hair here that's popping out, that's showing really like white over the jacket and stuff like that. So maybe I can do a little bit of work on that. But that's all details. It's kind of stuff that's individual detail that can't really be done in as well in RAW. I want to maybe work on my teeth color. Maybe I want to change, I don't know, the color. Someone mentioned you like having the ability to change certain things. Maybe I want to change the colors of our hats or something like that. But then also notice that this is my husband, Jack, when he's in the background, it's a little bit soft. See how it's kind of a little bit blurry versus I'm sharp. Well, that makes sense. You know, he's behind me and that's what cameras do. But maybe I can enhance the sharpness a little bit on his face. He always also has a weird little thing happening there between his teeth. So those are all things that you can look at and go, okay, where do I fix them? So this is the kind of photo that we're going to fix mainly in Photoshop. So many things can be fixed in, let me go back to in RAW. Most of them, this photo doesn't need that. Okay. So we did a little vignetting. That's about all we did. I would never do, this is important. I would not do sharpening right now. Yeah, I told you he's a little bit soft. You don't want to do sharpening until after you've finished other kinds of retouching. Sharpening should come at the end. So in this case, I'm not going to just sharpen his face. We could do a little brush just to sharpen his face and do a spot sharpening. But I'm going to first go in and do a few more changes in Photoshop. So since I'm done, basically one thing, a little vignette. What I'm going to just say is not done, because if I say done, it goes back into Bridge. That means I am done. I am not working on this photo anymore. I, on the other hand, want to open it and keep working on this in Photoshop. So this was like a transition period. So now let's go ahead and say open. And thus it's going to open into Photoshop. Now, so many times coming through RAW, your photo is pretty much ready to go. But if the photo was already kind of ready to go, then coming through RAW didn't do much to it. The one negative of having done the vignette in RAW, though, is that now that vignette is stuck to my photo. It would have been easy to turn on and off in RAW, but once I open it in Photoshop, it's become a permanent modification. So in the end, I've done a destructive modification. Does that make sense? Because anything I left done in RAW now begins as this is the photo. Now, for those of you who are new to this, if I go back to Bridge, my RAW over here, I can open it in RAW again and again and again and take the vignette out, put some more color in, sharpen my husband's face or whatever. So this is non-destructive. You saw already how that coffee cup went from white to yellow. So it's non-destructive in that I can go back to it. But once you're in RAW and you then say open into Photoshop, now this Photoshop beginning in Photoshop is not the same as the beginning Photoshop I would have begun with from the scratch in Bridge. Does that make sense? That little slight change of making these trees a little bit darker is now stuck to it. Lisa,
Yeah, beyond some basic adjustments in RAW, I would think it'd be a mistake to do anything like that, like you're saying, before
Yeah.
you go in and really do some serious
Yeah.
Photoshop work.
Yeah, and
That's
so
all.
vignetting and sharpening and those kind of things are usually left to the end, right? But I just wanted to show you where it was, and also to make a point about how it was so subtle, it doesn't matter how permanent those changes are once you open that file in Photoshop. Okay. That said, I could apply RAW here inside of Photoshop. I'm not going to show you that right now, though. And then it would be a bit less permanent, because in RAW, inside of Photoshop, RAW becomes a bit less permanent because then it continues to be editable. But right now, what we're going to do with this photo is search a few other things, a few that I have never taught you. There's one thing I've never taught you. And one thing that I have taught you a lot, masking and stuff like that, but we're going to use a different adjustment layer, and then we're going to do some retouching. But those of you who've been in my classes quite a few times, and even this class, when I say changing something's color, what do you think you need to do? What's your first thought?
Hue and saturation.
Yep, so hue saturation tends to be one of the first thoughts. Now hue saturation will adjust colors. Let me just quickly do a quick hue saturation. It's a color adjustment layer. So you don't need to do this, just watch it. Just want to remind. If I go to hue saturation with nothing else and I flip this wheel around, so to say, it changed all colors at once. So clearly for something that's portraits, that would be not the right thing to do. So what we would need to do is first having created a mask and saying, oh, I just want to mask out the visor or the hat, and then change the color of the visor or the hat, right? So that's one possibility.
Did you just pull the hue saturation down to the trash can to get rid of it? Is that what you just did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, because I never do that, but it was, I'm all, oh, how'd you do that? Okay.
Oh, yeah. So I just created a hue saturation
Yeah,
that
I
I
saw
don't,
that.
yeah, that I don't want.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you could right click and delete, you could, select it and then click the trash can, or the old fashioned way is drag it to the trash. And in my brain, when I'm not particularly teaching, that's the one I do. I drag it to the trash, but I could have
Yeah.
just clicked on the trash or right clicked
Yeah,
and deleted.
I'm accustomed to
Yeah.
hitting the delete button, but when you drag
Or
it
hit,
down,
or hit the
oh,
delete button. There's so
oh,
many
that's the
ways.
way to do it. Yeah.
Eons ago, the only way was to drag it to the trash. And so that's, you know, you do what's automatic. too,
Sure,
So
of
that one,
course.
yeah, that one stayed with me.
I got it.
Um,
I learned something. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Some people hate clicking and dragging, especially if you're using your fingers on a pad. Clicking and dragging is horrible, but with a mouse or with a pen, it's useful. All right, so that's one, hue saturation. I also taught you in hue saturation. I did teach you that you could isolate a color. So, and this is all review, so that you remember, you could go and say, well, I want to change the backpack that's blue. So I choose my blues, and instead of having everything change color, I can just change my blues. But who would have thought there's a lot of blue and a shady snow, right? And so what you don't get is the way to distinguish, because it's blues from the, what if I had blue eyes? Now my blue eyes would be pink rabbit, right? It was so this works for limited situations, but not for everything. So what would have to happen here again is delete the hue saturation. Now I'm deleting it from here. I clicked on this trash and I'm going to say yes. So I don't want it. So I would have to create a mask. So everything we're talking about implies creating masks, okay? Which is what we did for a lot of time, this thing. Now, one I have never taught you, one we have never used, is selective color. So let's go ahead and do a selective. Oh, and I have taught you solid color. So let me just finish this one. Solid color would be another way to do this. Have I taught it in this class though? Have I taught this class? How
I
to do
don't recall
solid?
that, but I'm not the barometer.
Yeah, in general, I've taught solid color when I want to completely change the color of one existing item. But if you didn't teach it to you guys, I certainly taught it in other classes. So hang on, I'm going to teach you a new one, which is selective color. As usual, you depending on your image.
Diana, what are you clicking down in the lower right corner that you right clicked and pulled up hue saturation? Which of those icons are you?
It's the circular one, is for color adjustment layers. It's always the little circle. That's
click on that.
No, just click, not right click. I don't know what happens if you right click. Same thing, right or left. This is just click. No matter what you do, the same thing happens. Okay. So these are all the adjustment layers. And there's tons. And for the most part, I've taught you a lot about all the top ones. Not all of them, but I've gone to a lot of these to teach you stuff. But I'm pretty sure I've never shown you selective color. So I'm going to show you that one now. So first of all, let's go ahead and say that we're going to change the color of my visor. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, Control or Command plus, just so that I can see better what I'm in PGP. So I'm going to go Control or Command plus. Oh, to zoom in a little bit. Hello. Make it a little bit bigger. Now, on top of that, I have a Band-Aid on there. So let's see if we can minimize that too as well. But right now, let's go in and work on this visor for a little bit. So first of all, as whatever that I showed you right now, if you want to isolate something, you're going to have to make a mask. So the way to make a mask usually is select it first, right? So let's head over to our quick selection tool. At this point is probably the best one to use for here. Because if I say object select, no one, the object of this whole image would not be the visor on my face, right? So that wouldn't work. So let's go for quick selection tool. And this quick selection tool, you can make bigger or smaller. Again, with the letter P, I wouldn't not want to be anywhere near the edges. I'm going to make it much smaller. And now I'm going to go over here and kind of click it without touching anything I don't want. Okay. So I'm not going to touch even a bit of the snow or a bit of my hair. I'm going to be right in here and let the computer figure out where the end of this is. And I'm going to drag a little bit and see how by doing that, I'm letting Photoshop kind of shows where this ended, right? And then I'm going to keep dragging, and then I'm going to drag a little bit more, or instead of keeping, I'm going to undo that. Instead of dragging, I can also just simply click. Okay, so one thing is to drag it around, or another one is to just click. And if I do a just click, it kind of also continues. And then I notice that this is all pretty good. This is all pretty good. Here it got a little bit of weird stuff that I don't need in here. It's missing some of the visor. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. See what I mean about there's some stuff I don't want there. So now I'm going to make this a bit smaller. And then I'm going to hold the Option or Alt key. It might not have happened to you, and I'm going to try to get rid of this. But remember, we only touch what we don't want. So I wouldn't do this because then it'll not want some of the hat. I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key and then kind of gently, oh, I went too far. Now it got rid of something that I want. So I can either redo, okay, Control Z to try that one again. You should always do that first to undo. And then if it's still having trouble, it's because it's really hard to distinguish for this tool, whether this is finishing and when that is starting. So then I go with see the edge, the top edge of this thing. I'm going to put it right there where I want it, and I'm going to click plus again. So now I've kind of made it a bit better, right? So I'm kind of saying yes to that, but not to that. Here, there's also a little weird thing that isn't. So I'm going to hold Option key and try to get rid of that little thing that was sticking out. So anyway, I'm doing my best to get it to do a better selection just with gentle clicks plus and minus. I'm going to now hold my hand, the space bar to get my hand, and I'm going to have to add this. Now I'm going to click and add this, and maybe click down here to add this underside of my brim a little bit, but see, it got a little bit there of my hair. So now Alt or Option to say minus, and now I'm just going to try to create a straighter line here. So yeah, so now I think I've got a pretty good brim selection. Now I'm going to change the color of this. Maybe I don't want to change the color of these little guys right now. I hadn't even thought of that, but maybe I want to let them change with everything or not. Let me see. If I don't want to change them with everything, I could hit Option or Alt and then just kind of grab this and see if it figures it out. But I don't think that's going to do a very good mask. I think it's going to be a bit awkward.
Would you mind going over the getting rid of the extra little piece again?
Yeah, so when you don't want something, you have to, so for example, here, if I don't want this, right, which I'm going to actually leave it, but if I don't want it, I have to hold on the Option key for Mac, Alt for PC, and it puts your tool in minus mode, so to say. So now you cover what you don't want, but notice that you only touch what you don't want. I am not touching any of the gray part because I do want the gray part. So that's the part that's hard, is making sure you don't touch what you don't want. I'm going to undo that change again. So say over here, say that I did not want to maybe go over maybe that little guy that's there. See that teensy little bit there? If I didn't want it, I would have to put just the edge here, hold on my Option or Alt, and just touch that little bit that I don't want and hit one time a click. And then the computer, see how it left it out this time? But so it's the edge of this tool really matters. Does that
Got
make sense, you guys?
Yep, that's great.
You use the edge to define what you do or not want. I'm going to go around and let's see again what happened over here. It's a little bit funky, but I think it'll do the job. Maybe later I can soften the mask a little bit more, but I think that'll kind of work. All right, so now I'm going to go back Command or Control minus to where I see a bit more of the image, so that whatever color I choose is the color that'll work. Notice that I left those shapes in, so whatever color I choose to change, that'll hardly change or not, because now you'll see that color selection works a bit differently. It's not like hue saturation that changes everything. So does everyone have a selection of this visor at this point? For better or for worse, it doesn't need to be perfect. Selection, making good ones
Got something.
is a learning experience. Okay, so let's head over to the color the adjustment layer. And we're going to choose the bottom choice this time, selective color. Let me just, before I continue, all of these adjustments, every single one of these is going to work on either color or luminosity levels. So it's these, all of these in one way or another are work to make color changes or tonality changes to these photos. And sometimes one works better than another. You try solid color that I taught you, some of you before, others not. Or you try hue saturation, or you try selective color, and you see which one you like best, and you stay with the one that works best, right?
Diana?
And yes.
Hi, it's Lisa. I've got this weird little red square that says, it's got like red and it says postcard underneath it. And I have no idea how that showed up. It's kind of above my layers channels path.
It's interesting. Postcard reminds me that you were in my digital design techniques class where we made a postcard, but I don't know why you would be seeing it. Why don't you share your screen?
Sure.
Because I'm wondering if it's some leftover from that class that you have.
I don't know.
Like some copy paste from before. Just share your screen and let's see.
Yeah, it's also preventing them from doing a quick selection.
I don't know. Let's go ahead and see.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
What am I sharing? Why is this not working? No, I'm just trying to just
So, the green share screen and then again the blue on the right side.
Right. I'm hitting the share. And it says invite to edit and share for review, beta. When I click the share screen.
But that would be the share, that would be a Photoshop share, not the Zoom share.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I watched the Zoom on my iPad and I'm on my computer. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Okay, share screen. Share. Is it working? I'm hitting share.
No. Are you hitting the green share screen?
Yeah.
And on the right side, the blue share with white letters.
Zoom. It says Zoom is not responding. This happened to me before. That's really weird.
Huh.
Yeah. Now my screen is just all grayed out, just telling me that Zoom is not responding.
Uh-oh. Well, you're in both times. If Zoom is not responding other than dropping out from that computer and dropping in again, and then when you're here sharing with me, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try that.
I'm sorry, don't know why.
That's okay. Thanks.
Okay. Deanna, I have
Krista.
my Photoshop has, I don't know if it's crashed or something, but it's not really showing up. It's weirdly showing up. I don't know if I can show you my screen and.
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. So this is now what it looks like. I have this, but I don't have,
it's
and
interesting.
I have a little bit of it over here, but I don't know where it went.
It's interesting. You're showing bridge, but you're not showing the tools.
Right.
Go ahead and
I have
minimize.
this one box.
Yeah, that's the box you need, but you don't have the rest of it. How weird. It's
Right.
okay. Go over to click on bridge to maximize, to make bridge pop up front. Yeah, click on bridge first. So like make it truly be. Yeah, click on bridge.
Oh, there's bridge.
Okay, and now go up to the top right tools and minimize bridge.
Okay.
Okay, and now let's see if you can click on Photoshop and have Photoshop appear again.
This
you-
is what I
huh.
have.
Can you right click again? Or not again, but right click and see if it says anything. Go click on the word adjustment. Yeah, Adobe Photoshop, click on that. Huh,
I don't know what's going on.
yeah, me neither. You might need to
Okay.
close it and open it again. So now go down to that
Okay.
PS again
Uh-huh.
and then say close window.
Okay.
Save changes. No, we haven't really done much.
Okay. and
Okay,
then-
now open bridge and try to right and open the right click open and camera raw, and then forget about the vignette and just say open again and see if it opens in Photoshop.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Open.
Just say open.
Okay.
Let's see if it works. How strange. And
Oh, I had it all selected and everything. Now
yeah, I know. It's like, I worked on that selection and it's, let's see. I think this might have to stop teaching VDI if they don't fix it. It's getting, it's getting less strong. So there it is, Photoshop. The file looks like it's opening.
Okay.
You know what? Yeah,
Okay.
there it is. So go ahead and do a quick selection of that hat
Okay.
again. And then let's see if this time it lets you. So do a selection of the hat again. And if it works, then do a good one. But just do a quick little run your tool through it for a second, just really quick.
Okay.
And
Thank
then,
you.
yeah, but I want to see, just do a real,
Oh, okay.
just run the tool really quickly. It doesn't need to be a good selection. Just to go, oh, you have a teensy weensy little tool.
Oh, I did before. I
Oh,
made it.
yeah, you're probably, yeah. So
I
go
was
and-
cleaning it like you said.
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly. No, but you clicked on some hair there. I noticed that you clicked a bit too soon.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, okay, just leave it where it is and let's go try and do the adjustment layer just to make sure
Okay.
it's working. So go down to the adjustment layer. You can then come and redo this portion, but is it gonna let you go to selected color?
Yeah.
All right, it's working. Okay, so
Okay.
trash it and go do a good selection.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks.
I don't know what to say. Lisa, how about you? I noticed that you dropped out and dropped in again. Can you try
Yeah,
again
I
now to
was
share?
just trying to see if I could share my screen again. If it works. Share. No, I'm taking it's not working.
Wow. So your laptop Zoom is not wanting to share, huh?
Hmm.
That one, I don't know. That one
Okay.
you might need to talk to one of the tech people when they're there on Monday to see
Okay.
what might
I'll
be
figure it
happening,
out.
because that's not, yeah. Is it a Mac or a PC?
PC.
Yeah, so it's not even a permissions issue. So yeah, I'm flummoxed. Can't help you. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I'll work on it. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I'm sharing mine now, guys. So this is my screen and back to this one. Okay, so sorry for that interruption, but yeah, sometimes tech stuff. It's interesting though, because some people swear by being in person. Some people swear by being online, and online we have some people more of these tech issues. But on the other hand, you get to work on your own, systems and from your own home, which a lot of people prefer. But then there's a bit more of these tech issue support. So yeah, we're talking about the benefits or not the other day of this. And, all right, so selective color. Here you're going to choose what you want to target, which is something that we kind of showed you before in hue saturation. You could do that, but this is better than doing it inside of hue saturation, and that it gives you more control. So in this case, this is pretty neutral, right? Tone. So let me show you. What if I choose magenta? Do you see much magenta in here? Or let me choose something green. Do you see a lot of green in this hat? Not much green. But even within greens, I can choose whether I want to work on the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black of the greens of this area. So it's much more specific. So if I were to say, well, let me work on the the yellow of this image and I move back and forth, I'll go, nothing much seems to be happening there, even though it has some yellow. But it's just because I'm targeting the greens, right? So then this yellow isn't being affected. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
you can be much more careful with what you target. But one thing I love about Camera Raw is you double click and things go back to the middle. In these, you don't. You have to bring it back to the middle yourself if you don't want it, or you have to say, get rid of that thing I did and reset, right? So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go to, this looks like a neutrals might make sense. I'm going to hit the neutrals right there. And then in the neutrals, I'm going to start moving some of these around, and there's a difference if it's relative and absolute, so there's different choices, but I'm going to go ahead and there you go. Now I'm getting a change there, right? Because now I'm actually targeting the neutral colors. But notice that my yellow, it's changing a bit, but not as much because the yellow isn't as neutral. So you can sub-target a tone and then the tones inside of it. So this is one of the most nuanced one for changing colors. So anyway, if I want, there's quite a bit of cyan in there. There's some magenta. So if I move my magenta around, now I'm getting these, different, I can get a purple. I can move over and get some intense colors. I can make it darker or lighter. This one usually only works a little bit. If you go too far, it just looks weird. Right, so you should probably keep this one kind of zeroed out as much as you can, unless you're really going for a tad lighter, a tad darker. So as you can see, you can try to play with these, and I've come across so many different tones that I've just made already. Most of them keeping my yellow almost intact. Because why? Because it's not a neutral. Right. Anyway, I'm going to back off a bit and change in a more gentle way. My color. I don't know what color should I? Yeah.
Deanna,
Yes.
if you double click on the name of the color, it will reset to 0.
Oh, I love that, Peggy.
Yep, that's thanks to Fuji. Who used to be in our class.
Oh, thank you. I did not know that. All right. Now that's what was happening. So do one big movement. I'm going to go to cyan and I'm going to move it to 78 and now look what it does. And now I'm going to zero it out and I'm going to do absolute and I'm going to do the same thing, 78, and compare. And now the biggest thing that I see right now is that my yellow is also going and my whites are changing versus relative. See, when I go to relative, the greenish tone I'm getting isn't so different, but this one is ignoring my yellow logo. But when I hit absolute, my logo is also changing. See that? And again, these things depend on the image, whatever color you're working on. But anyway, so now I'm going to back off because I don't want such a big teal. But anyway, say that I want, I don't know, I'm going to invent a color. That color. So I ended up with this color. Yeah, the yellowish.
Diana, I have a basic question. I can't get to properties. How do I get there?
Okay. So how you got there is because you made a selective color. Do you see a selected color here or not?
Yeah, but for some reason my layers are popping out into the picture rather than going down below.
Okay. So before I ask you to share, let me just be clear. Go over here to workspaces. Do you see workspaces and say reset photography?
Okay. Okay.
Just set all of your, that might help with the layers. And then you might need to go and double click on the word libraries to see it this way. Is that helping right now? I'm not talking about properties, but just your layers. Do you see selective color here?
I see it, but it's popping into the main screen.
Then go up here and say reset photography.
Okay.
Reset photography.
Okay, there we go. Okay, that worked. Okay.
Okay, and then now if you have this thing opening up, you could go and double click on libraries to make it smaller.
Okay.
Once you're seeing this, are you seeing this now? Like selective color set?
Yeah.
Okay, now you can pick up the properties by double clicking on this portion of it.
Okay, got
Okay,
it.
this works on our mask, and this works on the properties, single clicking. All right, so that's if I went to neutrals. Now I could have also get rid of,
I'm sorry, mine's not changing the color of the hat. So I'm not sure.
well, are you a neutral? Here, let me just say, I'm gonna undo this. I'm gonna say completely undo everything I've done like that. And then if I'm in reds and I'm trying to move things around, there won't be much changing, right? Because there's not that many reds in there. So make sure.
It's starting to work now. I switched out of neutrals and I went back to it. Now it's working. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just a computer.
Again, as I said, there is some blue in here. So maybe if I were to go into blue and some cyans, this might change the color. You have to test, but it's up to you to see a bit more what color might be there. And as you can see in cyans, no matter what I do, nothing much is happening because the hat is what's selected. Nothing else will be affected, but also you need to target the right color, right? If I go to whites and I try to change my whites and I make them intense cyan, look what changed. The little white little bits that are in there changed, and it looks like a reflection here changed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what you're targeting really matters. And in this case, I went to neutrals. If I go to blacks, maybe the little spots there might change a little bit. Yeah, look at the inner spots are changing to bright red, right? So yeah, so what you target matters. Anyway, reset everything to 0 here and start again if you have gone to some other colors. And then, yeah, let's go back to neutrals in this case, which is the one that I thought worked the best for this particular. So as long as you are targeting the right thing, that this is a really powerful tool. So now I ended up with maybe what I want to do instead is get a bit. Now I have a blue backpack. Maybe I want to change my backpack. Okay, so when I'm done, I go back, making a choice. I'm going to do Command or Control minus, and I look at it and I go, oh, I want to change something else again. Well, this is so completely non-destructive that all I need to do is go back in here and when you've been somewhere else and you don't go double click properties, open the panel again, and then keep changing it. And now maybe you're going to do the other way around. You're going to make it pink or whatever it is that you want to make it. Okay, so I'm going to stick with some kind of a greenish tone. Now, this all works because I had pre-selected it. And so it's staying within only that hat level. But had I not done a pre-selection, then it would have affected everything, and it would have been kind of weird because anywhere else that had a neutral tone would get kind of greenish. Sometimes it's hard to find what it is, like what color is this hat, right? What color is it really if you're trying to make this hat change? So I'm going to zoom in, and is it neutral? That one was easy. It was gray. I mean, how much more neutral can gray get? So once you start targeting colors that are already colors, it's a little bit harder. Let's select it first. Do a quick selection. So remember to select it. I can't be in the selective color mask because there's nothing to select there. I have to go and select my background again, so that then my quick selection will work on selecting this hat. But immediately, see how it already got a little bit up here? I'm going to have to hold down the option and undo that that little bit of tree that it got. Now I'm going to go over here and select this brim and see how it grabbed his glasses. So I'm going to do option undo and just trim around his glasses, but looks like I took a bit too much out. So I'm going to hit here again. Oh, I have some tree trunks that I'm going to have to undo. So if I want to undo something, you have to hit option or alt. And then if you want to add, I want to add this brim. Then, so sometimes it's a back and forth. Now, if that fails you, then you have to go to the lasso and actually start being more careful with the edges yourself. Like if this automatic back and forth doesn't work, you have to try to do the best you can do. Oh, wow. This one actually grabbed his whole forehead. Okay, I'm going to try to do undo and undo his whole forehead. It looks like it worked. But yeah, it looks like this one for some reason is a bit harder to select. Here I got a tree trunk that shouldn't be in there. Let me get smaller and this little edge. So as you can see, one thing I'm doing is I'm kind of far, which is never good. You should be kind of close up to the edges to really see what's happening to the edges, and it gives you too much choice. But if you got it kind of right with too much, then you know that it'll be fine when you go back to 100%. So yeah, I've got a lot of weird little things going on here. And so if this tool doesn't work, just head back to the good old lasso tool and finish it up yourself. Like, I'm going to just take this little bit off because it's there we go. So I'm just kind of making little circles around the little things that it shouldn't be grabbing. Okay. I'm going to go over here and it shouldn't be grabbing this. So I'm basically, again, holding Alt or Option, but this time I'm selecting and making a little circle about what I don't want, instead of trusting on the back and forth of the quick selection tool. Does that make sense? We did quite a bit of this with the star mask solstice person. Here I'm going to add. So to add, I don't have to press on. Oops. Command or Control Z. To add, I need to hold the Shift key. Because when I change the lasso, this is the only tool that automatically adds is the quick selection tool. If you have a lasso, you need to hold down the Shift. And then here, I think it's got a little bit too much of his forehead. So anyway, you go around and you do your best. Looks like it's got his glasses. This frame. The quick selection tool is great, but it doesn't do these, it doesn't really do details too well. So you just need to go in and fix things. And that's fine. That's why we and depending on the background, it might be a perfect tool or not. In this case, it was not the perfect tool because the background and the edge are too similar for it to be able to distinguish. So it gets confused. So we need to help it out. Okay, is everyone working? Again, the hat doesn't need to be perfectly assigned. I want to move on now, but I just wanted you guys to know how to correct a selection. Is someone lost? As in, you need help figuring out how to do what I'm doing right now, which is refining my selection a little bit. Any collaging or composing that you're going to do is really going to depend on how well you are selecting material for it to be believable. Okay, so it's really important. All right. Okay. No one seems to be asking for help or raising their hand, so I'm assuming that you're working on it on your own.
Working.
I'm happy to have someone share if they need, otherwise, all right, well.
Diana?
Yeah.
Hi, it's Diane.
Mhm.
I'm not actually working on what you guys are doing. I'm watching.
Okay,
and
all right.
just trying to commit some of it to memory, and I know that I can watch the video after this as well. My
Okay.
screen keeps freezing and a little message that goes across it says your internet connection is unstable. So
Okay, so you know what?
Mhm.
Your video is on, but I'm just seeing like fuzzy carpet or something. I don't know what it is. And that there's no need, if I'm not seeing your face, you shouldn't have your video on, because that is probably helping your internet connection be even slower. So can you
Oh,
go
how do
to
I
your,
shut that off?
so see all the tools in the bottom where you see, chat and this and that. Do you see those tools? Hover
Yeah.
over the Zoom tools. Go to the little video icon and click on it to mute the video, so to say.
There's a record button, a share button.
To
Is
the
it
left,
near
further left, next to the mute button for sound.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, stop video. There we go.
Left. Okay.
Yeah, so go ahead and stop video and I should stop seeing your, yeah, there you go. So now that should help
Okay.
quite a bit. All right.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I love seeing you guys, but if I'm not seeing you, what's the point to have the video on? But if I am seeing you and your internet connection's going weird, then that's another reason to turn it off or turn it on only when you talk to me or stuff like that. All right, so I have a good enough selection, you guys. You already know I've taught you how you can keep going back and correcting your selections with the mask. So for now, we're going to say that what we have is what we've got. And I know I need to give you guys a break a minute, but I want to make sure we don't leave the selection like this before we go on break, because then it's really easy to lose it, right? When it's active like this is at its most dangerous. Yeah, I'll show you how to edit the mask. Sabrina's saying, how do you edit the mask? But first, you want to save it, right? And then you can edit the mask. So how we save it, if I didn't want to do the work right now, I could just go in what I showed you earlier, right? Select and load selection, and save selection, but I don't really want to do that. What I want to do is create, we're going to go again with the same one since it's the first one I teach, and I'm going to go to selective color. You can later try some of the others and see what you prefer, but let's go to selective color again. And that's how you save it, so to say, because by putting it in a mask, the selection goes away. But now that mask is very easy to pick up again with the tool that I showed at the beginning that I think that Linda asked me about, and Mac made a comment, which is hold down your command or control key and single click your mask. And sorry, I forget that I'm on VDI. Control key and single click, and that picks up your selection again, right? So by creating this mask, it's easy to pick up your selection. Anyway, I don't want my selection. I have my mask done, and I do want my my choice. So now the question is this neutral enough? Isn't this neutral enough? Is it more of a white? What it is? So what you might find is that you're might be exploring things here and there to see what really works. I'm going to dare say that it might be a neutral again first, and then it looks a bit greenish yellow. So green and yellow is probably a combination of cyan and yellow to be kind of greenish. So maybe I'm going to start moving the yellow and see. Oh yeah, see how my hat is becoming purple by moving the yellow under neutrals, or it's going bright. So that does seem to be a lot of that color. How about if I move my cyan? Yeah, it's got a lot of cyan in there. How about magenta? Did it have a lot of magenta? Yeah. So I guess this kind of in the neutral really does. I'm going to double. I love this, Peggy. Thank you. I'm going to double click there to zero things out. How about if I tried something else? Would this have worked if I had just gone to yellows or greens? I don't know. Let's see. Looks like not. How about yellows? It's changing a little bit, but not much. So again, this seems to be more powerful in the neutrals for this image. So yeah, so let's find, I don't know, how about we turn it into like denim or something? Can I do that? Can I play around until I find? Oh. Less magenta, more blue. Less blue. Ah, there I have. There's my blues. So you can tell I have to kind of play around with it a little bit. It's purplish. Oh, there, that's becoming a bit more like denim. Oh, there you go. I think I've got. Kind of looks a bit like denim, doesn't it? Like it's a jeans hat. I don't know if it's appropriate to have a jeans hat, but there we go. So anyway, as you can see, you can really do a lot. So I'm going to turn this one on and off, and that's the hat before and after. And then this is my visor before and after. Okay, so pretty high amount of control that you have over that kind of stuff. I want, before we take a break, I want us to save wherever you're at. You keep playing with it, but I want us to save this image, because over here it's telling me it's still my DNG, which it is not. This is just what I opened. And if I try to save it, it's not going to let me. You can't save a raw that's been worked as a raw anymore. So if I were to even just do a regular save, it won't let me. It's going to, if I'm just going to try to do a control save in S, it just will still open a big old save as box, because it cannot save it as a DNG. So I'm going to leave it as a PSD. At this point, I'm already in the Google Drive, in my shared drives. So I'm gonna leave it in there because it just is a class file. But you guys who are on VDI have to go up to Google Drive, My Drive, and leave it in your My Drive. And this one, for some bizarre reason, it's another photo I tried to put in here, but the wrong one came in. It's not waterfall drink. So let's say ski retouch portrait, or snow retouch portrait, whatever, a retouch portrait. It's not even a portrait, it's a snapshot, I guess. The portrait implies something much more, much more portraity. All right, I'm going to say save and okay. And we're going to stop right there. And then when we come back, we're going to work much more on retouching. Again, you can keep working. You might want to change the backpack color or something like that. I just wanted to show you a new tool for changing color. And we're going to spend a bit more time on retouching when we come back. Okay. Any questions just to catch up to where we are before I send everyone off on break?
So
Perfect. Go ahead.
Is there a way just to edit the mask, the black and white part?
Yeah, I did say it should. And yeah, so how you would do that, let me go back. Where am I showing this into and not here? So yeah, so remember that if we want to fix the mask, because we think the mask, so let me approach again a little bit on this. Say that we think that there's something that can be done better. Let me see how this mask turned out. Say that I think that I'm going too far in or too far out. I click on the mask, okay? And this is what we did many times before. Choose a brush, right? B for brush. And once you have a brush in your hand, then with black and white, you can edit this mask by, and remember, probably the last time we left it at 10% or something like that. So I'm going to put it 100% just to make sure it's very obvious what I'm doing. So now if I paint over here in my mask, I'm taking away, right? Or because I have black, or if and I'm going to Command Z. So say that I think that this went overboard too much. Like over there, the rim seems to be going a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the rim and I'm painting. There you go. I like that rim a little bit more because I painted some black on the edge. Now you don't see yourself fixing the mask. You see yourself fixing the hat, but see here, this hat seems to have gone over a little bit. So by painting black, I'm having it disappear from the tree. It's not making the tree blue now. And here too, I had a bit too much, but say that I had a bit too little and that this part stayed, then I hit this and I change it to white. And then I back out and I fix with that. So now if I got a bit too much, see how I'm painting my tree blue, then I switch to black. Okay, I switch to black with the X and then I kind of get rid of the blue from the tree. Right, so that's what we're doing. Now, when I'm saying this is fixing the mask, but you're not seeing the mask, is because what you're doing is you're adding back and forth to the mask. If you really want to see the mask, which I don't necessarily think is necessary or recommend, you can hold the Option or Alt key to look at your mask. But sometimes you can fix some things in the mask themselves. Like here, I see there's a little dot that could be made black, so I can go and paint it. That shouldn't have been there. But for the most part, it's not that, Now, the fixings that I just did with a softer brush than the original edge. So that should be something I might want to consider, changing the softness of my brush, that I might want to match, the original edge, so that when I paint with the brush, the edge whoops, see, there we go. Now I have to do X to paint with white over here so that it's a bit of a harsher edge. And then with black on the outside so that it just imitates a bit more the edge that the hat already had. But by doing that, I have no idea if I left the tree blue or the hat white. That's why I'm working on the mask is kind of useless because I just fixed the edge. It looks better. But what if I now have a brim of a hat that's you can see or a tree that's blue? That's why I kind of always say, you know what? You have to work on the mask in this mode. And yes, look, I had made the tree a little bit blue. So that means that I need to put some bit more care into that and adjust that edge. So anyway, yeah, really all it takes to work on the mask is black or white on the mask. Okay, and since that's something we've been doing basically most of the classes, I'm gonna do Command 0, Control S again. And yeah, so for those of you who don't like that initial selection, then go into the mask with a brush, put black or white and start adding or taking away in that way.
Thank you.
That help, Sabrina? Yep.
Diana, can you ever go
Yes.
back to marching ants from if you've done this?
Yeah, if I want to pick up that hat's now marching ants, and this is when it becomes important to start labeling, because sometimes you can tell which one it is, but other times you can't. So I might go to this one and say Jack's hat, for example, versus, I can just select the entire name. Jack's hat versus Diana's hat, right? So you can just go over here to the mask, remember? Hold down the Command or the Control key and click one time. And there you have your selection again. So plan B would be if you want to keep adding or taking away with the lasso tool. But once you have it near enough, I think it's better then to just keep adjusting your mask because then it's more accurate. You know what I mean? The lasso tool didn't tell me if I had the edge too far in or too far out. But you can do it this way. If you do it this way and make any major change, then you're better off dumping the old one and creating a new one. And there you go.
Diana, I find it interesting that if I click on either Diana's hat or Jack's hat still remains marching ants. Not that that's
Because clicking doesn't make, like, if you're holding the shift key, you mean you're holding with option?
well,
Command?
I've had marching ants on Jack's hat and
Jack's hat, okay, Jack's
anything
hat.
else I click on, I still see the marching ants. And I would think being I'm clicking on a different selection, they would stop marching.
No, a selection. See, I'm clicking a bunch of stuff and that selection is still there. If I want to get rid of
Okay.
the selection, I need to deselect. I need a Control D or go up to select, deselect. That selection stays until I undo it. The only time it goes away on its own is when I create an adjustment layer, which kind of absorbs the selection. Other than that, when a selection is there,
Yeah.
it's frustrating because what if I have, like, here's the worst case scenario. What if I have one little grain of snow right there selected that you can't even tell? Like I'm pointing it to you so you're seeing it.
Yeah.
What if it's amongst these trees? I have a little tiny there. I have a little select and you can barely see. If I don't point it to you, you wouldn't even know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And then you're trying to suddenly make a big change on this entire phone. You're going, I'm going to make a selective color or whatever, let me hue saturation, the entire thing is going to change. And you start doing like that and you go, whoa, nothing's working. Why? Because only that one little pixel is being changed, right? Because you had a mini little, so it's not that it wasn't working. It's just that it only works on selections. I'm going to undo that and get rid of that. But you basically have to do Control D or Command D, which means deselect, almost like your second nature, to undo all the time weird selections that you might have because you don't want to be stuck having this kind of situation where you're trying to change something here. And usually you'll see if the hat changes, but if it's one little pixel, it'll be wrong. Selections don't disappear unless you have a selection tool like a lasso and click again, then it disappears, but then you probably leave one pixel selected, right? So basically Command D, Control D is the best thing you can do.
Okay, with that said, if we're in Jack's hat, we've already got the, we already have Jack's hat selected and whatever.
Uh-huh.
So if we hit Command D, the selection
Uh-huh.
is still there. We're able to work on it though, right? I mean,
No,
so-
Command or Control D will get rid of that selection.
okay, well, we don't want to do that then.
Well, I mean, if you already have this made,
That's
you
what I'm
don't need to
referring to.
select it again. If this is
Right.
already existing, then
Yeah.
just do the properties and keep changing things galore, and it'll only work on that select. You don't need to have the marching ants anymore.
Right, and that's what I was referring to. Okay, so because you have that up there, if the marching ants go away, you already have that.
Yes,
Layer established.
the mask absorbed the selection, made a mask, and now that's it. Now you work on the color or the whatever, but the
super.
mask is ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just needed that driven home again. Thank you.
No, that's fine. Cool. All right,
Fiona,
so
I have a quick question. Sorry,
Yeah.
a part of my color from Jack's hat went onto his forehead, and what's the easiest way to kind of fix that?
yeah.
I think it's the mask
Select-
part. and-
Select the mask, select
Okay.
the mask, okay? Zoom in a little bit, right?
Okay.
Because you need, and then choose a brush, okay? So B for brush. And then the white stuff in the mask, think about it. The white stuff is what went, in my case, blue. And the black stuff is his forehead, right? So if his forehead went blue, you need to paint some black on his forehead. So choose black down here. You basically have to either, with a K, you go black. You only use, you never click on in here to get a color. Never do that. If you do that and click on this and get the picker, just cancel it. You need to, when you're selecting a mask, your only two choices are black or white. Switch with this little arrow there by clicking on it back and forth, or I like hitting the K, back, forth with K. Put black on and then start painting on his forehead and it'll go away. In this case, I'm painting into the hat, so it's going away, right? So that's how you would take away something that's too far into his forehead, which, by the way, over here, I had a little bit into his forehead. Well, that's a good fix. Right,
Okay.
zoom in and let's see if I had, I had a little bit on his forehead, so that kind of fixes that weird little thing right there. Right, so say that I had too much like that, too much blue on his forehead like that. Switch to black and then go over here and then just paint, just clean it up like that. Yeah,
Okay.
over here, yeah, if I pay attention, I think that's not hot, that's probably hair and forehead right there. So you just need to-
Exactly where the section I have to go back and clean up.
yeah, usually it's those sections that it's hard for quick selection tool to distinguish. Was that hat, which is head? Remember that the color of this without the selection is kind of vague and it's a bit of a soft image. So in this area, you can't tell what's happening.
Is this this seems like a way to do quick mask, but you're not going into quick mask.
It's the same. Quick Max is another tool that's the same thing as what we're doing now. So yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're all there. Photoshop has 3 minimum to 10 ways to do the same thing and so many different tools, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
Interesting. Let's take
So,
a break.
Let's take 15 minutes. What's the
right.
time? It's 3:13. Somebody figure 15 minutes out for me. 3:13. 3:14. Oh, it switched to 3:14.
3:30.
3:30. Okay, be back by 3:30 p.m. I'm great at graphics. I'm bad at math. All right. See you guys in
All right.
15 minutes.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. I'm back. Whoa, I should have got a lozenge, but I didn't. All right, I'm back, you guys. Hopefully you're all coming online as well.
Gave my computer time to cool down. My fan was whirring when the class went on break.
Well,
Yeah.
you're driving it crazy doing so much good stuff on it.
Yeah, well, driving the old laptop crazy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, I don't recommend this that I'm about to say, but I discovered that I was taking a really old laptop to my Mac class, and it was so cold in the room, it wasn't turning on. It just was not turning on. Well, and I didn't know at first it was related to cold, but the whole point is that there's a student who had lived in Alaska, and she said that she had a very old iPad, that the only way to get it to work was to warm it up on her heating pad.
Oh my gosh.
And
That's
I was
funny.
like, I've always heard
Wow.
of computers overheating, not ever.
Under, yeah,
And so she brought her heating pad in, and we put my laptop on it, and presto, it worked. On very low, right? Just not the cold room. And when I go in to room 3 in the mornings, it's really been a cold winter or fall. Anyway,
it's
the
good to know.
Mac people, of course, say, no, you're going to fry the computer. So, and that's what I've always heard. But hey, it got my computer to turn on three mornings in a row when it wouldn't. But you got to be very careful. Yeah. But I did it on the way to school. I have a car that you can heat the seat up, and I put it on that. And my drive to school, when I got there, it was working too. So just
Oh,
gentle
perfect.
heat. Yeah. Anyway. Crazy, don't do as I say in case something happens. But on the other hand, when she first said that, I kind of poo-hooed it. I said, no, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have to do that. But then someone else said, no, when I go, and it's true, when I go skiing, which yes, this photo is about that. When I go skiing, you have to put your phone like in your innermost pocket against your body so that it doesn't get too cold, right?
I remember
stops working.
going on trips to cold country through work, and digital cameras, 15 years ago
Mhm.
or more, they would
Mhm.
seize up. I mean, they would,
Yeah.
the functions wouldn't work.
Yeah,
I think the newer digital cameras handle it better, but
I don't know. All I know is that I always carry it in my inner pocket against my body. And so I said, well, maybe she's right.
Sure.
So then I put
Sure.
my laptop on a little heating pad that she brought in. And it's so funny. I was only able to teach because someone brought me a heating pad. Anyway. Okay, guys. So all of this is non-destructive. If I turn these two off, back to the old colors. If I turn them on, here are the new colors. This is masking we've done for quite a while, meaning back and forth. Again, the power of masking is everywhere. You use it for so many things. Now what I'm going to do is work a little bit more on retouching. And before I get in depth with retouching, I'm first going to look and see the main difference here between one and the other face is, of course, that I'm in the sun and that's not. So it's not that one is wrong or right. It's just that it doesn't seem like the picture, the people are together. We won't be able to imitate that. I won't be able to fake that he has sun or fake that I don't. I mean, I guess it would be easier to fake that I don't than the fact that he does. But the goal might be just to lighten a little bit more of the background, maybe darken a tad. I don't know if it needs darkening, but maybe the one thing that distracts me is how bright this blue is. So maybe actually do a selective color and maybe make it a little bit less bright so that you can focus on these things. So if we're going to details like that. But what we're going to do mainly is work on how do you soften some of the wrinkles. So I'm gonna, for that, you're gonna need to go and be for sure at 100%. Now, 100%, which was the rule forever, and it still is in a way the rule. But if you have retina screen like I do, a really high resolution monitor, you used to be able to not go above 100% and not see pixels, but now you can actually go to 200%. And when I'm at 200% on a retina screen, this is still not showing me pixelation. This is where I might need to be in order to see the details. And then it's like, whoa, yikes, ouch. Oh, that's kind of bad. Whereas at 100%, it still look kind of far away. So depending on what monitor you have, those of you who at 100% already see it really big, it took me up to 200%. Anything more than that, it doesn't work. If I do Control or Command C to go to 300%, that's already giving me pixelation, and it would be very hard to see whether this is the skin is modeled or if it's the monitor. So don't go past 200%. I'm going to go back to 200%. So I'm going to hold mine at 200% for sharing with you guys. And you guys, it depends on how you see it. If you're seeing it much, much smaller than this, you might want to move up and then see if the skin still looks good. And this, when we do this, when we want to see if there's focus. We don't need to spend time at this level of zooming in all the time. But before we really work hard on an image, you want to kind of see kind of how the focus is doing. And when I go up here and I look at this, I go to the eyes. You need to go and visit the eyes. So funny. I kind of always use other people's photos. And so I thought, it's maybe for the retouching part now, and then I have to put myself in there, but it's really hard right now staring at me. So I'm not sure I'm going to use me much very often. But anyway, I am up at 100% looking at my eyes, and yes, definitely I can see every one of my eyebrow lashes, including a little crooked one that's going the wrong way for some reason. I can see almost the veins in the eyes. Yeah, this is tack sharp as far as sharpness is concerned. Now let's go see, because since it's a portrait about two different people, let's go and see the other face. And yeah, well, first of all, you can't look at the eyes because there's glasses, but clearly a lot of softness there. That doesn't disqualify the image. You don't have to have everyone sharpen the image, but you might want to work on seeing if we can enhance this one a little bit. Now, when we one thing I didn't do is in RAW might have been a good place to do some noise removal, and I didn't have us do it. And where do I see noise? If you look in the areas that are a little bit should be smoother, like his cheeks over here, since it's a bit blurry, you wouldn't see the details too much. In the shadowy areas like his teeth, you see kind of like there's little dots, little gentle pattern of dots. That would be noise, and that would be the best place to remove noise is always at the beginning in RAW. It's much harder to see noise when you have like detail, sharpness and stuff like that. It's usually you'll find it in smooth areas of darker tones. Like if you look at the shadow here under that little bit of neck, that might be a good place to see if it's noisy. So this isn't a very noisy image, but it could have some noise that you could need to look. Okay, so I've inspected and I've decided, yes, it's worth fixing it because it's sharp and I like the picture. And I think I can do something to make it a bit better. So I'm going to back out a bit to see a bit more of it now. But that's what you need to do. You need to go up to 100% for sure. And as I said, maybe 200% on these kind of high resolution images before you decide if it's worth continuing with all the work that it's going to take. So now I'm going to back out actually to Command or Control 0 to see, is there anything at a tone and color level before I get into the retouching the face that I might need to do first. And I'm like, well, maybe, as I said, this is a little bit bright that distracts me. In a way, you could say that's distracting too, but it's part of the image. So I don't want to change the entire nature of things. But maybe a little bit more of that vignetting effect that we did might be good to darken, because these are a little bit washed out, these trunks. So maybe darkening a little bit of that. The snow looks a little bit bluish, and that's typical of snow. When there's sun, the snow reflects the sky and it ends up a bit blue. If this photo were just of snow, the camera might have been able to compensate for that and give you white snow. But since this photo is more about people, it ignores the snow, and then the snow might need to get a little bit of blue taken out of it to make it look less grayish, kind of dirty. Anything else you guys can, that's what I'm seeing off the top of my head. Anything you guys are seeing? As at a general level, we're not talking details like one face or another face now, but just a general thought that you might want to do.
I think it'd be interesting to make, to leave the hat color and make everything else black and white, but that's
Well,
just me.
that is very, actually, remember, that is very easy. Remember, I told you I could show you how to do that easily. So let me show you really quickly, because we already selected both hats. We have those selected, created. So look, in 1, 2, 3 clicks, I'm going to make this go black and white with the hats staying in color. So just watch, and then we'll move on to the rest, but watch. Remember how I said how you pick up the selection? I'm going to do Control or Command click to pick up that selection. Control or Command click to pick up the selection, but this one disappeared. So how do I keep 2 selections at a time?
Shift.
Yeah. So now hold down Shift and Control or Command click. I'm looking the other way. Sorry. Wow. Why? Oh, because I'm on VDI and I'm not doing a real control. Anyway, there it is. So now I have both of my selections. Since I have a Mac mouse and I'm in VDI, sometimes the controls. Okay, so they have both of the selections. Got it? Now, I'm going to create a adjustment layer to turn this into black and white. But lo and behold, when I do this, this says black and white. I have my 2 hats, right? So did everything turn black and white?
No.
No, because it's the opposite selection that I want. It's selecting the hats, and what I want to turn black and white is everything else. Yeah. So I have those 2 selections already. I'm not going to do them again. I made a selection of both of those, and now I need to inverse it. So I'm going to do Command or Control I, and now everything turns black and white except for the hats. Does that work? So if I turn these 2 off, this is the original color they were, which was not very colorful. If you put colors on them that are even more colorful than mine, then that's the effect of everything black. Now, there's many photos that the effect would be much more striking on than this one, but that's the effect. Okay. So once again, what did we do? We had to select, select both of the, again, shortcut. We had to select both of the hats. So we had to do a Command or Control click, Shift click. Okay. And then that gave us the 2 selections. But then when we created it, it comes in opposite of what we want. You see that? It's opposite of what we want because it's working on just the selections, which, by the way, still kept their color because I have selections turning them into those colors.
Say, I'm doing Shift,
So,
Deanna.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm doing Shift and selecting them both, but I'm not getting marching ants on them both.
Okay.
Maybe I need to screen share.
Okay.
Let's
Go
see.
ahead. Select share your screen.
Share. Let's see. Which one am I sharing? I've got 2 screens. I haven't done this for a while. Desktop 1. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now, click, wait, Mac or PC? Mac. Okay.
Mac,
So,
yeah.
so you need to click on the thumbnail, on the little mask thumbnail, not on the whole layer. So put your mouse over the little black area, the mask. Yeah, there you go. Now hold down Command and click. Now hold down your Shift key. And at the same time, hold down the Command. So you're basically holding Command and Shift and then click again.
Oh, Command and Shift. Okay.
And now click on.
Well, now I'm not getting, I'm not getting.
No, not the layer, not the layer. That's a selecting. So now you have to click away to get and start again.
Okay,
Only the black.
let's try again.
Yeah. Only the black area that has a
Okay.
mask. Okay. So you got one. Hold the
Okay,
shift, and now, I'm doing it on the Mac on the other side. Yeah, it should work. I was just trying to make sure it was happening on mine. Okay, so, and let me watch you. I was watching myself, so let me watch
Oh.
you. No, you're not. Okay, click on that. Okay, all right. So now you've got one.
yes,
Now, with you now, don't do anything with your mouse right now. Look at your fingers and hold down shift. And then
Okay.
put your other finger on command and hold down command. Now,
okay,
look at your mouse and put it on the black and do it
Okay.
quick click, just a quick click, not a long one.
there we go. Okay, I didn't realize we were doing two. I thought it was just
Mhm.
shift click, but it's shift command. Okay, that
Yeah,
straightens it out for me.
because you need to pick up, it's command click picks up the selection, right? So it has to be a command click to the selection. And then the shift just lets both stay.
I understand. Great.
All right.
That irons it out for me.
Great.
Thank you.
Now go
Thank you.
make the black and white. Go down to the adjustment. Yep, click on that one and create a black and white adjustment layer. And now you need to inverse. So click.
Shift command I.
Nope, just command I.
Oh, command I. Oh, the shift command I brings it back.
There you go.
Oh, okay,
All right.
cool.
Now, there's much more to making a good black and white. And as I said, there's many photos where that effect is spectacular. You know, this photo, that effect is not spectacular, but at least you know how to do it. But yeah, many times there's an image I used for many years of a little girl with like what looked like a crystal ball and her family looking at her. So I would make all the ball, everything black and white, and then the ball is this glowing red or something, little things like that, or a rose is pink and everything else is colored, or so there's many places where you can use it effectively in a way that's definitely
That was great. I think I've seen other ways, I'll just say, of doing this. And this is a much more straightforward way of doing it.
Oh, well, I couldn't
mean-
imagine a different way, to say the truth, that I would ever.
Well, I think you can mask by color. I can't remember. It was a while ago.
Well, yeah, let me just share my screen now.
I mean, I think you can select a color when you're in a certain screen, or
Yeah,
you can
there's
select a
usually-
color and say preserve this color somehow.
Yeah,
And
there's-
then,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's so many, as I said, so many ways to do this.
yeah, but I
It's
I like what I'm getting at those. I like this way. So that's
Yeah,
great.
this
Thank you.
is, it's just, that's why I said, this is the one that you guys already know how to do. So you already know how to make selections, you know how to do masks. It's just a different adjustment layer that you haven't used. That said, you can play around here later and make your photo more striking. You can play with these kind of things to see if your black and white was something that you prefer to do differently, and that kind of stuff to make a better black and white out of it. But I'm not going to go there right now. I'm just going to turn that one off because, it's just to show it to you guys, but that's not what we're going to do here. So if you want to keep it there as a sample, please keep it. Other than that, just let it be there. So I'm going to turn the eyeball off. All right. So what we're going to do now is maybe looking at all of the colors, say, well, maybe let's try to darken a little bit this outside, maybe just lighten him a tad, see if maybe we equalize the colors a tad, take a bit of blue off. So those kind of corrections. And then we're going to go in and do some retouching, maybe whiten the teeth a little bit, get get some of the wrinkles to be a tad less obvious. So looking at the time, all of that has to be done. They can all be done before or after. They don't affect each other because they're different areas, right? So it's all going to take selective masking of different areas. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on the color of the snow, and then darkening, and then I'm going to go to my face. And then there's much more we can do, but those are 3 things that I think we can get done before the end of the day. So let's go ahead and click on quick selection again. Well, let's see. I'm going to show, there's a selection I haven't shown you yet, which is color range. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to work for this, but let's give it a quick try. Color range, select things by color, right? So say that I were to want everything that's blue, and I click on this, then anything else that's blue in the image would get selected. And if you have very defined colors, it's useful. Or if I have like mixed colors, but that slowly smooth in, it's also useful. Not sure if it's going to figure out that this white is the same as that white is the same as that white, but let's give it a quick try because I haven't used color range in a long time. First of all, make sure you're selecting the background. Okay, once again, because it's the colors of the background that it's going to select. If you have this selection there and you start doing it, you'll go, oh, it wasn't working for me. What you select really matters. So select your background, click gray, make sure your background is gone. Okay, now of all the selection tools that we've been using, the magic wand is the one that we haven't used yet. And I haven't used, I think, the magic wand in a long time. It might be new for some of you guys. This one is the quick selection tool is kind of, I would call it well, it's not a stupid tool. It's a tool that has very few choices to do anything to it. It works or it doesn't work, right? It doesn't have choices for you. But the magic wand tool is quite intricate and it'll look very different. Depends on what settings you chose for it, right? So for example, one thing by default, it always comes up as point sample, and you do not want point sample because a point sample means it'll sample 1 pixel. And I think we've already shown you, I'm going to zoom in wildly, and you'll see how in any part of the image that you zoom into, 1 pixel is not representative. Here's my skin, and if I land on this pixel, it's not the same as that pixel, and yet that pixel and this pixel, if I select only one, it would be a very bad representation, right, of who I am, what my skin is here under my, what my skin is under my what? Do I need to have it unlocked? No, I didn't have to have it unlocked. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to have at the very least a 3x3 average where it's going to go ahead and wherever you land and click, it's going to choose 3 to the right, 3 to the bottom, 3 to 3. So basically choose the 9 pixels nearby, find an average of that color and look for that color. Does that make sense? So depending on how many pixels the image has, then maybe 9x3 is better. If you have a lot of pixels, then maybe 5x5. If you have a ton of pixels and you're selecting a big area, then 11x11. I would say that between 3x3 and 5x5 tends to work. I'm going to go with, it might be too much, but I'll go with 5x5. So now let me actually, I zoomed in so much, I'm nowhere near the snow. So I'm going to head over and go up a little bit closer to the snow. And I don't know, there's quite a few tones in here, so I'm not sure how this is going to work. But what's important is that a lot of it depends also on this number. The 32 number is a very low tolerance. So what it means is that I'll show you. Instead of talking, I'll show you. I'm going to go to Command 0. I'm going to click with 5x5. Let's do less. Let's do 3x3 and 32. Let's start with that. Make sure the anti-alias is selected. And this one matters. If I say contiguous, only colors that are together will be selected. So this will be selected, but not that, or this, but not that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off so it doesn't have to be contiguous. Let's see what it does. If I click on this, if it finds enough other stuff without like also getting a ton of other white things. Let's see. I'm going to click on this part of the hill, which is very generic. It looks like it did a pretty goodish job, didn't it? It's selecting quite a bit of that. It's left some colors out. It's not selecting the biggest stuff. But that's pretty good. It's selecting some sky. But can you tell? And when I say selecting, let me show you. If I were to mask this, that is what it's considering as snow. which is not bad, all in all. It doesn't, but there's some things are missing. So maybe that wasn't a bad choice. Let's go ahead and Command or Control D to get rid of that choice. Maybe I'll show this to you a little bit better here with this backpack, just to show you how the tool works, and then we'll go and apply it. If I click with 3x3 average, tolerance 32, and I click, say, in this shinier part of this backpack right there, and it's not contiguous, then it seems to have chosen it pretty well. Obviously, it doesn't figure that this is the same color, and it doesn't think that those shadows are the same color, but other than that, it pretty much chose a lot of that color. Now, look what would have happened if I had only, and I'm going to do Command D, if I had only put in, say, a 5 pixel tolerance range. Now, 5 pixel tolerance range is very low, meaning it needs to be very similar to the color I'm sampling. Otherwise, it won't select it. So when I click on that color, see how it selected much less stuff? There's not much tolerance for it being different. Think about that. There's not much tolerance for any changes or differences. That's what that tolerance. And so it's only going to really click on things that are very similar to that 3x3 sampling. If instead, I Command D, if instead I was going to say tolerance of 100, and I click right here on this blue, then it's selecting a ton of stuff because there's enough blue in that and in that and in that to say, yeah, it's near enough to this. That's a really high tolerance. Does that make sense? So what you select changes a lot depending on these choices. And I won't even begin to point sample or 5x5. So let's just stay with 3x3. So maybe if I go to a tolerance range with the snow, it started at 32. Maybe if I try, I don't know,
50.
50. Let's try 50. Okay, and I'm going to click again. I'm choosing one spot, always to choose in the same spot, but even then, you know, that depends on where I click, but I'm going to try there. And now it shows more of my hat that it hadn't chosen before. I'm not sure it did a much better job of the rest. The rest still seems about the same because what's missing are the stuff that's really bright or really dark. So instead of changing my tolerance so much, I can always still take this out. Nothing bad seems to have been selected. Maybe what I can do is I can add. So remember that how to add to a selection is hitting the Shift key. So now if all of that has been selected, what if I now hold down the Shift key and choose also some of this dark snow over there and click one time? I'm holding my Shift. So now it adds anything that was within 50 points of tolerance of that color, and suddenly, boom, the hats all fit. Everything seems to fit under that. So that didn't work. So Control or Command Z, and let's go. Okay, I'm going to choose anything within that range, but I'm going to make it much less. Now I'm going to give it maybe only a 25 tolerance for this click. And I hold Shift and I click there again, and let's try. Oh, good. Now it selected snow, but it didn't select all my hats. Does that make sense? See how I'm kind of guiding it? Now that got selected, this got selected. All that had been missed before, but it's not choosing my hats. Now it's missing out these bright white spots, but I can click and select the white spots, and then it chooses anything that's one of these big white spots. So then I keep clicking around until I feel that it's found most of it. And I think it has found most of it. Now, the bad news is it shows some things that I don't want it to choose, but I can take those away easily. So now I Shift tool, go to my zoom, to my lasso tool, and I say, okay, I don't want you to change my hat. So I'm going to hold down the Option key to get rid, and I'm going to circle all of the stuff that was selected of my hat. Boom. And I'm going to get rid any part of the backpack that was selected down here. It seems to be the only things that are weird. A little bit of this hat. So for me, that seems about the only things that are wrong. The rest pretty much seems like it got snow, the grayish snow, and it left the trunks away. Now it did get some sky, but it doesn't bug me that it got sky, because in the end of, well, if I'm going to take blue away, I guess I don't want to take blue away from the sky. So maybe I should take that away. So I'm going to hit Option and maybe take away. Oh no, that was wrong. Undo. Option, and that's, where does the sky end? That's still snow. think sky is about that stuff only. Like that. A little blue in it. Yeah. It's a bit of sky. So can you see how I've slowly, I'm going to do a quick mask here again. In the end, it's hard sometimes to understand what these are, but basically it's recognizing that is snow, a little bit of that is snow. And all of that, when you see it on its own, you can see how it's pretty grayish and not so clean. So that's what we're going to try to lighten up and also take some blue out of it. And this is only for you guys to see it. We don't need this at all, just so that you can see it isolated. So I'm going to go through this again if you need help, but right now, let me just show you the final step. So we have a selection that we think is pretty much of snow. And now I'm going to make, again, another adjustment layer. And there's so many different things I can do. I guess I could try maybe color balance this time. Again, different choices might work for different ones. I could just lighten it with levels and curves, but I'm going to try color balance. And I'm not sure if color balance is going to be a good one. I'll test it. But you see, the good news is that it created a mask. So now, even if I don't like what this one does, I've got the mask ready to be used for another adjustment layer. So I'm going to show you abruptly what it does. I'm going to make it really blue. So see how everything got really blue and really yellow. See how it's affecting only the snow? I'm going to bring it back. What if, here it doesn't work, the double click. I had to try what you said. I'm going to make it really pink there, and that one might be more obvious. See how it's only affecting the snow, you guys? That's the selection that we made. Where color, it would have, can you imagine selecting snow with a quick selection tool and not selecting tree? It would have been impossible, right? So this gives us a possibility of selecting stuff that's really intricate. So before I continue, I'm making these weird colors just so that it's really obvious to you what I did. And then we can try to actually balance it. But I want to help people get here. So how can I help you with the magic wand tool to get here? For whom does the magic wand tool? Who needs help with the magic wand tool? If you're not doing it because you think it's too hard, just try it and ask me. And if you're not doing it because you're going to try it later, then that's fine. If not, if you think that your magic wand tool did a good job and you're ready, give me a yes. That way I know that if most of you guys are there, then I'll continue.
Could you go back through what you did? You went with the right hand snow and then you went to the left hand snow, and I'm not sure what you were.
So I'm going to turn this one off and I'm going to do it again. So I went to the magic wand tool. I tested back and forth a few times, and that one might have gotten confusing, but I think that the 3x3 average tolerance, I believe 50 is what I started with, from what I remember, for the initial click. And I clicked somewhere around here, like right before that little, like above his arm, before the little white strip. And I said, click. And that gave me, let me just show you, if I were to make this a color, let me go color balance again. If I were to make this a color balance, that gave me like that, which seems to work for most of the snow. But see how this patch of dark snow right there, it's snow, but it's kind of so dark that it fell out of the average. See that little bit, Linda?
Yes, yes.
So that was left out. And then these bright white patches, you can't tell they were left out, but in the end, bright white isn't going to get much better than bright white. But I wanted to include this bit, that bit. See how around here, around my hair a little bit there. And then it had a bit of pink in the sky, and I did not want my sky. If I'm going to take blue out of the snow, I don't want to take blue out of the sky. So it needed more of this and less of this. Does that make sense? Less of the sky. I don't want the sky to be selected and the blue to come out. but I do want this patch that wasn't included to be selected to be added in, right? So now let's me do that again. So to my initial selection, right? To my initial selection, I wanted to add this little bit. When I added it at 50, it got too many things. So I went down to 25 to make it less sensitive. And then to add to the selection, you hold on Shift, and then I clicked and said, here, add anything that looks kind of like that. And there, see how it added that and that and that. Now the snow is well contained. But it also has a lot of stuff I don't want. So now I don't need to add anymore. That looks good. Looks like all the snow. Well, I think I shift clicked it on the white stuff here. So it got a bit of the whiteness too. So I added some white. So, but that's it. All the snow that I can think of is been selected. So now what I need to do is I need to take away. So that's when I grabbed. Okay, let me stop right there. Did it work up until there then? Linda and everyone, I added two clicks. I added the initial one, then I clicked over here, and then I went and shift clicked some of this pure white so that it selected some other pure white. Did that work up until there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Now select your lasso tool, and now it's the opposite. We're going to take away. And so to take away, we're going to hold the Option key instead of the Shift. And I'm going to make a big circle to take away any of the selections that was around the sky. So all of, whoa, didn't mean to do that. Sorry. All of the selections that were around the sky area, so Option takes away, right? So I'm taking away that. I'm taking away this that's over the hat, taking away this. It's on my visor, and taking away this that's on the backpack. So basically it went and looked in many different places, and it found pixels right there that it thought were similar to the snow. It's not wrong. It's like little gray lines there like the snow, but I don't want to take the snow, the blue out of that area. And good. So now, and I think I took too much away. Let me undo, because I took some from here, which is still snow. So I'm going to Command Z. That was me at the beginning. I grabbed too much here. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to say Option, and that's the sky. There we go. Because this stuff here is still snow. It's just further in the background. Okay, so now I'll take this out again. And then I'll take that out again. And that out again. And a few little spots over here. All right, so once you have that, now let's go over here, and I said let's try with color balance first. So click on color balance, and this is where when I went crazy and I made it bright pink, it helps you see if truly everything you think is snow has been selected. But I didn't really want it bright pink. What I wanted to do is to try to turn it neutral. So if it's already had a lot of cyan, I'm going to try to counteract it, because I'm going to put a little bit of red on it. And if it had a bit of green, I'm going to try with a little bit of magenta. So I'm counteracting what I see. If I'm seeing too much blue, I give it a bit of yellow. And then this is subtle. This is really subtle. But let's see before and after. So the first click here, that's before and after. Wow, not so subtle at all. Let me move up. Command Z, you can look at just the snow. And if I say before, see how blue it was? After. Can you tell the difference there? Before, after. Don't do this one, because this one undoes everything you've done. This is before and after. And again, this will be more visible in your own screen, because you won't maybe have to deal with whatever, just my screen and then zoom and all of that is changing. So just look at your own. Don't put my numbers in here. Your numbers are your own, and it might or not be right, but it's just you choosing what you think is good for you. So now I like that much better. I think that snow looks much more neutral now than it did before. So I'm going to go over here to where I put my color balance, and I'm going to double click and call this one snow. 'Cause I think it makes it much, so then I can try it on and off this eyeball before and after. You might have made it now too yellow or too pink. You need to be careful with your corrections, but that's what seems to work for me. I would have had no, it would have been so hard to create anything to select snow and not. You know, it's not a tangible thing like a hat. So that worked. But if you look through the trees, that stayed quite, it stayed there. Now, it would be a bit harder, I have to admit, if what I had chosen is to just click on the sky. If I were to make the sky a little bit darker, I mean, that would be probably much harder. Could try it, but I highly doubt you get much out of that. But I'm going to hit my layer here and try to click. I don't even know that I have 3 by 3 pixel average to do that. You can try. Let me click there and then see. It seems to have gone quite a bit of the blue stuff, but I don't want to get rid of anything that's the white. So I'm gonna get rid of all the stuff that I think should stay white, which is all of this. And basically, I'm seeing a tiny bit of selection here of the blue between the skies. Let me try color balance and make it much bluer or cyan. Has it made much difference? Let's see. It's made it a bit bluer, but it's so little. Like if I were to make it magenta and pink, you would see it right there between the trees. Now you'd go, oh, what did you do with that? See, that kind of looks weird. But when I try to make it be bluer, it should be sky. I'm not sure it was worth it. So let me see. Before and after. It does make it bluer. I don't know. It could be if you really wanted to show that there is sky. You might have to choose between those. So this is a blue or sky. Not much, just a tad. All right. So that is an example of intricate stuff. Now let's go with something a little bit simpler. Let's go with light and lightening up in general the area of my husband's head, looking at the time. So, God, again, there's so many ways to do this one, but maybe the easiest way is to start with some kind of a general selection. Now, remember that this selection on its own, the lasso, gives me a pretty sharp selection. So if I were to select, say, something like that right now, just so you guys have an idea, and I were to make this, say, really, really bright, see how it's a very sharp triangle that I just selected with the lasso tool? If instead I feather it a little bit, so let me try maybe 5 pixels of feathering on my lasso. When I select an area that should be just as sharp, let's see what it does. See how it's a softer edge to it? Yeah. So that's still not soft enough. What I want is to have a general selection of his face that won't show a line. So I want a lot of softness. So maybe 25 pixels. And now I'm going to try that out here where I can see the change, and I'm doing levels. I'm just doing it really bright levels. And see how soft that edge is now, my selection. Can you tell how soft my edge is now? So basically I've tested on this image and I figured 25 pixels is soft enough, maybe even more, maybe 30 pixels. This is soft enough. And now I'm going to just do a general selection, a very general selection around his face. Actually, take this. Just a general selection around his face. It doesn't need to be perfect because you saw how soft it was. If it's at 30, it's pretty soft. Maybe we need to go even softer, 50, but anyway, 30. General, see how I'm not being careful, I'm not grabbing everything. You could be more careful and grab the ear, but no, just a general idea. Because we're gonna try to very softly lighten this area. So now, yes, I'm gonna wait until everyone has this. So basically grab a lasso, give it a 30 pixel selection, and then kind of around his face. All right. Okay, now head down here to, again, we're always gonna, at layer 0, let's select levels. Go to levels. And in levels, what we can do is we can lighten or darken stuff. So if I were to go really crazy and grab this black thing here and move it all the way to the right, I'm making his head basically black. This is the black point, and I'm saying, no, make him all black. I don't want that. If I'm going to go really crazy and I say, grab the white point and say, make him really bright, that would be crazy too. But none of these need to be moved in crazy ways. I can just go, it's a middle tone gray. I can go to this middle tone gray and just, if I move it to the left, it lightens up. If I move it to the right, it darkens, right? So I go a tad. So if the central point is 1, right, then I just move it. So, right, if I move it too light, he doesn't have color. It's not like I want to go too light because that looks weird and it doesn't match with that. Just the idea is, and if you get lost of what's the before and after, you can always click here and see the 1 is the center point. That's how you started. You move a little bit to the light. And I think if I go the before and after, I might even got a little bit too much, but I think that brings up the shadows from his face, doesn't it? Pretty well. So again, this is your on and off eyeball when you're still working on it, or you can go over to the eyeball over here and on and off, on and off. Now, I might like what it did there, but I might want a bit less here or something, but that's fine because guess what, guys? This is just a general mask. And what do we know about masks? We can grab a brush and affect it. So say that I decide that I want more or less of this mask. Again, you don't need to see the mask, but I'm going to show it to you. This is the mask, right? And I've made all of his face this much lighter, whatever, but percentage, which is just a tad lighter. So what if I say, well, sure, I wanted this part of his face lighter, but maybe I'm going to brush the effect off a little bit off of his chin or his beard. So I go to the brush, and this is when, remember the opacity? I get maybe only 10% opacity brush, and I'm just showing it to you here so you see what I'm doing, not because I would ever do it here. I know his chin is somewhere, his cheek is somewhere over there, right? So I'll put in black at 10%, and maybe I'll darken this area a little bit so that it affects him a bit less in the cheek area. You see what I mean? Now I'm gonna undo that because I need to do it on his face. I would never do it here. I can't tell what's happening here. And I'd also make sure that my brush is very soft, right? Make sure that the brush, in this case, you want it to be very soft. So now I'm going to show you in real life. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say, yeah, maybe just, I didn't need to lighten this part of his face as much, right? And so I'm taking off of his beard some of that lightness. So you can say, okay, now as he got lightened under his hat and on his face, but this had gone too light. So now I'm darkening this part up again. Does that make sense, you guys? How you kind of, sometimes you need it really sharp. You need the color for this thing. It has to be really sharp. But this mask, there's nothing sharp about it. It's just a general idea. Okay, tell me yes or no if you see some benefit there. Now, I could make another mask where I could see, well, I wonder what that mask would do to this darker part of my forehead. Now be careful, because in this case, it might or might not work so well because I do have a sharp line right there. See? So having that sharp line, this might or might not work, but I can use the same mask, put a brush on, maybe for the time being, just to try it, I might go to 100% just to see what happens to start with, right? And so I'll go ahead and I'll see if I lighten this area see how it's going into my hat and everything, but I just want to see it. So I'm going to undo that. And yeah, that kind of worked. Did you see what I did? The same, oh, backwards. The same one that lightened his face. I'm going to make a little hole in that mask right here for me. Yeah, I'll grab the brush. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. And I'm just going to kind of brush a little bit over here to see if that might help this look a little bit less intense. And then I'll try it like that before and after. I think that kind of helped. What do you think?
Can you
Before?
show how to do that again? Mine isn't changing in your forehead, so I'm trying to do it again.
Okay, so if you have a selection, make sure you don't have a selection to start with. Command D.
Okay.
Okay. And so let me undo everything. Hold on. Let me back up. It's my husband. So changing his beard. This is all still part of his beard. So, and when I see a change in my forehead, I know when I start. So all of this is playing with his beard. There it is now. It's okay. So here I am. This is the last one where I worked on my forehead. So if I look at this mask, oh, if I look at this mask, that's all I have. So now I'm going to go somewhere over here. Somewhere over here is my neck. And I'm going to go, oh, I wonder if I make a little hole right here. Like, right, I'm kind of guessing right now. I'm going to make a hole right here and have that same level effect under my head. That's in effect what I'm going to do. But since I don't know where my head is, I'm going to do Command Z. And I'm going to do it by showing this. And I'm going to do exactly that. This is that, except for I have a sharp, mouse. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to go and make my mouse be a bit softer.
Yeah, mine's not working. I don't know why.
Okay, so I'll go in a second. Let me, now that because I undid mine, let me redo mine. And get in there and just finish this and then okay. So again, it's not, the shadow is still there, but it's less intense in my face. All right, let me stop and go ahead and save meanwhile, everyone. And by the way, no one's done any screenshots yet. So if you want to do any screenshot at this point, I don't know if there's many changes. But
Diana,
don't
did
forget.
you change the opacity or no?
Oh, yeah, because I was going to show you the difference. That's true. I changed it to 100%, which is probably too much. I should have left it maybe at 20% and then just gently gone back and forth.
Thank you.
You're right. That's why it looks kind of weird.
Sorry, can I show you my screen? Because I'm not able to erase the shadow.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Okay.
I turned mine off. I said,
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm answering questions, but yeah.
So I have it selected and I have it.
Okay, so hold on. First turn on Ibon on and off. So let's see the effect on his face. Yeah, it's working. Okay, cool. Now you have 100%, which should mean that you have a lot of change. But what color paint do you have on your brush?
How would I figure that out? Is it in here?
Nope. The color of the brush is always on the left, all the way to the left, all your tools. Go to your tools. Okay, down, those two boxes of colors. Yeah. So what color is on your brush is the one that's on top.
Oh, the black one is. Okay.
Yeah.
So I need to swap it.
You need to swap.
Okay, now you're lighting.
And that's too tiny and marked and it'll look kind of weird. So make sure to have a better, but anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Give it a try. Okay, so always remember the color of your brush. When you're working in a mask and it's not working, it's because it's the wrong color. Very simple. Hit the X. Sometimes you don't know which color should it be. I don't know. Just start. And if it's the wrong one, hit the X and keep going. Right. It's not even it's like, oh, if it's not this one, it must be that one. Right. So try one, and then if it's not, try the other. Okay, how's that going, guys? On one face and under the forehead. That's
Diana,
working? Yeah.
for the shade of the sun, is it just lightening a little bit, not completely, because some are light should be on your face, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the light in my face. I mean, clearly I'm not gonna make us look like we're in the same place. I'm just
okay.
trying to equalize things a little bit. And since this was a pretty dark shadow, and now I lightened him, by lightening it, it still looks like I'm in the sun and he's not, but it's the differences are a little bit less. And I might just darken a little bit this part of my forehead now, so that it's less like my eyes go straight to there right now. So go boom, zoom, and then the rest is kind of even, but that's a big middle spot in the middle of the head. So let's go do that.
Can you share?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
No, of course. I always remind me if I'm not sharing. Yeah, so right now, oh, that's the wrong, I'm not working on this one, I'm working on this one. Okay, so now, right now my eyes get drawn to this part right there, because it's the brightest spot of all of these faces, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, opposite of that, I'm going to try to darken this just a tad with a very gentle brush. So now, the first time what I just did, I pre-selected his face, and then I painted over mine, right? I can do something similar. I could try, but I'd have to make this really soft to select, because there's nothing really to select. That would look pretty wrong. So instead, this time instead, I'm first going to create my levels, and then I'm going to choose my area. So watch, this is the same thing I just did, but backwards. But by the way, let me say, I think there's one more place that we can lighten a little bit. One more thought I had in the same levels. I'm going to call it lighter. I could maybe paint on this area a little bit, and maybe lighten this a tad again, just because it seemed so much dark. I'm just saying, it's just a thought. It doesn't have to be, but suddenly the differences aren't so stark. You know what I mean? Again, from there to there, it just makes it look more normal. If the sun here, if the shade is less bright, this is more natural that this be less dark. Does that make sense? Just kind of look around and see what you can do to change or not change. You don't have to do that. And in fact, if you look at his hand, suddenly his hand is a little bit dark. Do hands look like dark? But I'm just going to ignore that. I think that those are just icing on the cake. It's just little details. Okay. Now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to have nothing selected. Okay, so Control or Command D, make sure nothing is selected. And I'm going to do levels. This time, this levels is going to affect everything because I didn't select anything. So everything is going to go lighter or darker. See, the entire thing is being affected. Does that make sense? Everything, nothing has been selected. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to say, I just want this to go a bit darker. So with my eyes focused on that and nothing else, I'm going to look and say, is that better? Or right? So I'll move it over a little bit. So again, you'll go to the beginning, focus your eyes on that and go, let's see. Yeah, that might help. It's just a tad, right? All right. Now what happens is that everything got dark. So I need to annul that change by going to my levels over here and inversing. Command or Control I. So now it's as if this never happened. If I turn this on and off, it's doing nothing. I have inversed it. But with a brush at maybe 20% or something like that, I can go in there and I can just start painting a little bit in here. Just a little drag. Enough that it's, again, you can barely tell, but if you go over here and turn it on and off and stare at that corner, you would be able to see that something happened. You see that now? I'm going to zoom in. And if you just stare at this area, before it was brighter. This is how it was. And that's brighter, say, than my nose or my eyebrows or stuff. It's brighter. So I darkened it a little bit. And now it seems to match with my face. Does that make sense? And how did I match it? Just by painting a little bit in that area. That's all. That's all it took. So if you want to see what this mask looks like, it's just that. Oh, and I think I dragged this just a little spot here. Right there, between the eyes and the forehead. Does that make sense for how I'm doing it or what I'm doing it for? Just to make, by the time we're done, I don't know how much different. Now, these here, I don't like it. I'm going to see if I can try to address to make it a little bit better. But right now I'm just doing color, slight differences in color. So over here, this was a little bit weird. So maybe I need to darken it a tad. Just to make these things match. Anyway. There's other things. If you think that you want to lighten other things, and you can give it a try. You don't need to do them, but I'm going to go to the, so this one's a tad darker. I'm going to call it tad darker because it's only a tad darker, right? Not much for just that. Or I can call it, what's this called? Forehead or eyebrow. Is there a name for this place in between the eyebrows? Because it's really that little, because in Spanish we have it as ceño, but I don't know if we have that in English. Is there a name for this part? You Spanish speakers, we see this is el ceño. When you do like this, you fruncir el ceño, it means you're kind of like, so we have a name for this part, but I don't know in English, we don't have a name for that part. Anyway.
No.
It's funny, different languages, what they consider. So, all right, so now I'm going to see if that lighter one, and I'm just throwing this out. Well, again, not that this is the kind of retouching I need to do on my photos, but my eyes are kind of dark in there, and this is a lighter one. What if I try at 27%? What if I try and see if I lighten the whites of my eyes a little bit? How would that feel? I don't know. I'll just do it a few times and then I'll turn this on and off, just looking at the white of my eyes. And there you go. Look at that difference. I'm just using the one that I made lighter for Jack's face and seeing, hey, wonder if that, and it's at 20%. So I go over it a few times and it's not much individually. But by the time I'm done, if I just look at my eyes and I go on and off, you can see the difference there, right? Maybe I look a little bit less tired or something. I'm not making myself have white eyes. I'm just lightening a little bit. Anyway, so now when I turn on the lighter on and off, it's got quite a few things to do. It's working on the face, under the forehead, and in the eyes. Let me see, I'll try that. There it is. Oh, and over here. Can you see how? Now it could be that I need different ones, right? Because different lightness or darkness is necessary, but that seems to work. So before I continue on how to handle wrinkles and stuff, since the technique is pretty much basically what I'm showing you, only with another tool, any questions about what I'm doing when I'm saying make this a bit darker, this a bit lighter? I'm adding to the lighter levels, little holes here and there. So this is my little eyeballs right there. That's under my hat. That's Jack's face. I think this is the piece of the backpack. So all those little bits and pieces are getting a little bit lighter, except for I masked a little bit off of his cheek hair. Does that make sense?
It does.
And again, I only show this to you for teaching purposes, but guys, I never come here on my own. What's the point? You can't work on this because you can't see what's underneath. But when you're learning and when I'm trying to show you what you're doing, it's really cool to go, oh, I see. So basically, all of this stuff is staying the same color it originally was, but anything that's white or white-ish is being affected by that lighter levels that we added. You might think, well, maybe you want to darken. Opposite. Let's go to the one that's a little bit darker on the eyebrow, and maybe I want to darken. I don't know why I would want to do that. Anyway, I'm going to darken some other part. What do I want to darken? Maybe my chin over here. I'm going to darken the chin area a bit. Okay, I'll drag a little bit of darker over here. I don't know. Just saying. And now if I go this, see how my chin also is darkening a bit. I don't know if it needed it, but just to show you how you can affect different areas. Okay, so that's with levels. Now, just like we just did this with levels, we can do this. And remember I said that this backpack distracted me a little bit. It was a bit too bright. Maybe I can add a little bit of color on the mask that darkens. And so now when I go up and down, see how I darken the backpack a tiny bit? Maybe it helps. I don't know. It's all very so subjective, right? But when you have bright stuff on the edges, it lets people kind of look out. And so by darkening a tad here, it before and after, no one will notice but me. No one in the world would notice that that's not me. Okay, let's save. That's exactly what we're going to do to my face. What I just did, this is with levels. Let me actually double click. This is levels, lighter, and levels. Sorry, the name levels darker. Okay, so this is levels lighter, levels darker. It's like counteract. Sorry. When you click on this part, that thing that opened up, I'll open it up again. That happens when you click on the neutral gray area. You get special effects, and I don't want any special effects. So if you get this box doing what I did, just say cancel. That's all right. So now what I'm going to do is there's two other tools that we're going to use, which are the dodge and burn, which actually I prefer to use levels myself, but I already showed you how to do this with levels. So I'm going to show you these two with dodge and burn. So I could continue doing exactly what I'm doing right now, by the way, with levels, and keep going only with small brushes and maybe lighten the dark lines a little bit, right? And then with a darker brush, maybe darken a little bit the edge, the little skin that's in the middle, and the whole thing would just look a tad less deep. It's not a big change, but it would be a tad less deep. So I could keep doing that with levels, but since I already did that with levels, let me show you a different tool. So let's go and select again the bottom layer. And now we're going to do this non-destructively. So let's do a plus sign to create a new layer. And let's call this one dodge. And between parentheses, write lighter, because that's what a dodge does. And then we can make another one here and call this one burn, which is darker. Now,
Can I ask how you made this again? Sorry, Deanna. I just
plus sign.
Oh, okay. And that's with the dodge tool, you said?
Yeah, but right now I'm just creating two empty layers. So
Okay.
I will teach you the tools in a minute. Right now I'm creating 20 layers, calling one of them dodge and one burn. Is anyone left here who ever went into a dark room for photography? Aha, Peggy. Yes, someone else?
Yes.
All right.
In high school.
Gerard, okay, so when you had to darken something or lighten something did you ever develop process a print, and it's called dodge and burn?
Oh
at
yeah,
that point?
we used to
And you
do
would-
like big ones.
Yeah. So you would make a little hole and let light go through only to one area that you wanted to burn in a bit, and then you would have like a little antenna with a little round, like a little lollipop, so to say, shape, and dodge an area that you didn't want to expose so much. So that's why these are called dodge and burn, because this is Photoshop and it's about photography. But it's basically exactly what we just did with levels, only with tools that specifically darken or lighten. So I'm going to go grab first, let's say, the dodge tool. And you see over here how this example is using the dodge, which I told you is to lighten, right? So
What if I don't have the tools all on a long line like you? Like I don't know where my
yeah,
dodge tool
okay.
is.
So if you have the two tools like that, then it's this one. It kind of looks like a little lollipop or a
Oh, okay.
magnifying glass.
Thank
That's
you.
the dodge. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, some of the tools. Okay, so here we're going to do this. I'm going to show you a really big dodge and burn to start with, just as a.
You're
gonna
in
go
dodge
down.
tool, Diana.
Yeah, now I'm in the dodge tool. So the dodge tool lightens, right? So first of all, I'm going to go pretty soft. I'm going to go as soft as I can. And then watch what I'm going to do. Watch this, you guys. This is lightens, right? So instead of masking and stuff like that, it's a different way of doing exactly the same thing. I'm going to go over here and see this little darker area between my eyes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to darken, dodge, so lighten this area. So I'm going to click and drag and start. Oh,
Here I'm
hold on. Is it not gonna work in a non-destructive mode?
Should.
Huh. This is why I don't really like dodge and burn so much. People just do it on a. There should be a non-destructive way of doing this. I'm drawing a blank for a second.
isn't it non-destructive because you're doing it with the level?
On a different layer instead of doing it on the face itself. Let me run a really quick, I'm having a blank because I personally prefer a different method, but dodge and burn non-destructive Photoshop. Let me just see what am I missing. Under layer, select the brushes, select your foreground color to white. Oh. Yeah. So it's what I'm doing. Because some people do it on a gray layer, but I don't like to work on a gray layer. So I'm just trying to see. Hold on. Oh. This is the old one. Oh, see, this one's making it with, I don't like doing it that way. There's a way of making, you make this dark. Well, I guess I could do that. I really don't like to make it, let's do this. I don't, Do I have the time? What class is the time? The class is over at what time, guys? 5 or 5:15? 5:15, I think, right?
5.
Oh, 5. Okay, that's true. We started at 1:15. Okay. We only have 15 minutes. I forgot that. See, I don't use the dodge and burn method too much, but you have to first. There's 2 ways, and one of the ways is to get this to middle gray at the beginning. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to show you the steps and then you guys can complete it. Let's do this. Say select all, Command A or Control A, or go up to select and say select all. Make sure you're in the dodge. We're going to have to do it twice. In the dodge, I could have duped it. In either one, dodge or burn, like be in one of these 2. Say select all, and then go ahead and say edit fill. And we're gonna fill it with 50% gray. And then we're gonna bring it to a blend of overlay. No. You have to put it in a mode of overlay, so no, that doesn't work. Command Z. Fill it 50% gray. You know what? Since this is not the way I do it normally, I was trying to teach it to you because a lot of people talk about the dodge and burn, and it's not my favorite. So I'm running out of time to do it completely right. Fill it, don't put over, just say normal. Say okay. And then here, choose overlay. That's where you choose the overlay. Okay, let me see if it works first before I, yeah. So let me see if this is going to work before I have you guys do it, because I'm not sure. And if it's not going to work, then I'm not going to, yeah, it is working. There it is. Okay. That was absurdly intense, but okay. So I'll do it. Yeah, okay, so select the layer that's empty, select Controller Command A so that your whole layer is your whole thing is selected. Then go to edit and fill with 50% gray. Do not change it here to blending. Leave that in normal. If you did that, you'll have to go and select and choose normal again. Just 50% gray. Okay. What's that?
Where was 50% gray? I'm sorry.
When you go fill, edit, fill, over here it'll say background color, foreground color, whatever it says, you choose 50% gray.
We have to do select all.
Yeah, because we want the entire layer to be gray.
Okay.
So did you find this? Did you not find this?
Yes.
Gerard, you got it?
Under contents.
Under contents, you can
Oh,
choose
there
what
it
to
is.
fill
I'm
it
sorry.
with.
There it is.
No, it's
Okay.
all right. Nothing to apologize. I just showed it really quickly. Gray. And say okay. And then go over here and shift that to overlay. So where am I doing that? In the layers. Right over here where it says layers, you go down to where it says normal, click on that and choose overlay. I keep thinking this is silly. I shouldn't have, never mind. Let's do it this way because I'm doing it this way now. As much as you can do things 25 different ways, there's some that people like more or less. I probably don't prefer this one, but there we go. So if everyone has these two, they're exactly the same. We could have duplicated them and then given them another name.
Diana, when you brush with the dodge, do you do with a big brush or a small one?
Well, I'm about to get to that. I just want to make sure everyone has their layers. Now you're going to get up really close. Okay. And so say that what I want to do is I want to lighten these lines right there. Well, what I was going to do was under my eye pits. That's true. My dark eyes. That's the most obvious. Here, let me go to 100%. So now I'm going to choose the dodge tool. Okay. Choose the dodge tool. And then I probably need to start really small again, maybe 5, I don't know. Let me just start with a lot, 50%. So you see what's happening. I'm going to lighten. Okay. See how I'm clicking, but see how it's way too light. So I don't want it so light. So that's why I'm going much gentler. And yes, I want a very, very hard, very, very soft, no hardness tool. And now I'm going to click over here and start doing it gently a few times. And you might think nothing's happening, but look, before and after. Look at under my eye right there. Before and after. It's gentle, but the whole point is not to do tons and tons, right? The whole point is to have things that happen that don't look wrong. So every time I pass over it, it gives it a little bit more. So now when I go before and after, you see how the deep darkness that's there is moving away? You see that? Without having a chance to change so much. So that's, I used a size brush that kind of matches, if you want, the size of that area that has. So I'm going to go a little bit smaller here and go to this little area that's dark under my eyes. And maybe I can go a little bit to this stuff that's there. And each time I pass,
What's your hardness set on?
0%. 0%. You can do total makeup on a portrait with these kind of tools. You can just totally make someone who didn't have makeup, maybe a little bit. So by clicking here and there a little bit with a very soft brush, biggish one, just under my eyes in that area, look at the before and after. Before and after. I don't look necessarily not me. It's not like I don't have wrinkles. I'm not tackling wrinkles yet. I'm just tackling that darkness around the eyes, you know, the kind of between that and there. Does that make sense? What we're doing there? Now,
Yep.
I'm going to zoom in now for real and maybe try to tackle with a really tiny brush that same way. I'm going to go and tackle an actual line right there. Just the deeper part of the line. Just the deepest part of the darker lines. Right? I'm going to do it just for this little area. Retouching can take hours if you do it right. And only go as far or as much as you think. It's just about lightening the darker areas and darkening the lighter areas. Right now I'm just doing dodge, which is just the lightening, and it just the effect. The cumulative effect is what matters in the end. Right? So with a tiny brush, this is why you'd find it really much more comfortable to have a pen in the area that's a little bit dark. So anyway, I'm not going into many other lines. I'm just trying to do the stuff that's here. And then conversely, and I like to do them in a different layer. You could do it on the same layer, but I'm going to go to the second layer for the burn. You could do it on the same layer, but I'm going to choose burn, which is the opposite, right? It's the second tool. You could also get a burn tool by having having this one, but holding on the minus. So that also gives you the opposite, like the alter option with the dodge will give you the burn. But if you prefer to change to burn tool, now it's the other way around. You're going to be darkening areas. So when you have a groove that's dark, there's also a little area that's wow. This one shouldn't be overlay. This should be on screen. Huh. On soft light, I believe. Is that so? Yeah. Go to burn, brush, burn. Here it is. And again, I have to go really light, like, I don't know, 5%. And then you go to the highlights in between some of those places and you just darken a little bit. Like basically you lighten the groove and you darken that little place in between. Like that little tiny bit that gets too light when there's a dark groove.
I'm having a hard time seeing where you're working. What area? Sorry. Are you
Yeah, so
darkening?
yeah, so it's just that it's hard to show, but say whenever there's
Oh.
a groove that's dark, right next to it, there's a little shine. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things that you're gonna have to really like, if I look at my skin up close. So it's like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I really need to do this. So here's the dodge. If I'm gonna lighten this little dark line, which I'm lightening right now, okay, by doing that. Right. So the counteraction of that. So here I'm going into the little ones on the side of my eyes. And again, it's just a tap. I'm using a small amount of a tool. So this is what I'm lightening, right? By making it a line across the wrinkle. Then the opposite, which is the burn tool, you darken the outer edge next to that line. Does that make sense?
Okay.
That little shine that allows it to look like it was lighter or darker. So it's a lot of try and I'm gonna go. So here's this eye. I only did a couple over here and a couple here in the middle, but that's the before and that's the after. And I don't not look wrinkled. It just looks less intense. Does that make sense? If you look at these wrinkles here that I did between that and this, see how it just lightens it a little bit? Right there. And then those are I think I kind of prefer leaving it in one layer. See over here, that's the before. Look at these guys. And now I'll turn on what I did. It's just softens it. And if you do it more, like I just did it at 5%, but if you do more, you can get to the point where you have no wrinkles, right? I don't believe in no wrinkles. I do believe in maybe lightening the wrinkles. So
Diana?
here. Yes.
Could you also use the healing brush or one of the
what brush?
The healing brush for wrinkles?
Oh, yes and no. It's different. The healing brush gets rid of them and then you need to mask out. So again, there's so many different ways. So say I go over here, I'm going to make a new one and I'm going to use the healing tool, right? So the healing tool. So now I'm going to use the healing tool. So here's me at 200% on the healing tool. So watch. Healing tool. I'm doing it in a non-destructive manner. So I'm putting it on a different layer. Again, I just created a new layer. That's all I did. And I called it healing tool. Now I grab the healing tool. You can't choose what percentage this works at. Okay. So that's the big difference. I'm going to make it soft. There's no choice of percentage, but I can go in here and actually almost get rid of it. I went a little bit too hard, but I can actually get in there and, well, I should go into the other side because I haven't done, oh, I have a Band-Aid over there. Here, let me go into these. And the healing tool, I can actually eliminate the wrinkle. That row. I need to end the class. I actually have to help my husband's doing a sale tonight. He does pottery and it's a Christmas sale that I told him I'd go help him. But yeah. So anyway, here I'm completely eliminating a wrinkle, right? I'm having a hard time doing that right. Why is it? Oh, because I'm painting on the wrong layer. Sorry. Here, I have to be on the healing tool right there. Okay. So say that I completely eliminate this wrinkle, which the healing tool can do. Right? I go over here and eliminate, and I'm just doing a pretty absurd job because I do need to go, but I can pretty much get it to the place when I'm done with this, if I do it well enough, although I'm getting a white line because I'm not doing it well enough. I don't know why it's going white in that area. I have no idea why it's going white in that area. Let me erase that because that looks horrible. Oh, shoot. I hate the eraser. Oh, because I'm using, I hate when I use the wrong, okay, I'm leaving like a scar because I'm in a hurry. So if you go in there very carefully. Right now it doesn't look good because I left like a white thing, but it doesn't matter. It's because I was going too gentle. But anyway, so if you really carefully do this without leaving white lines like I am. I don't know, let me see if I do that. Okay, so look at my mouth now. This is the healing tool. Before, or just look at this area. That looks like a scar because I left it white, but never mind. Look at in general this area between that and that. It completely eliminates them. If you're gonna go this route, which a lot of people go this route, and then they leave themselves looking completely line free, right? I'm gonna do it over here. Here I'm doing it a bit better, so I'm not leaving the white lines that I had before. So first of all, it's like you're on Botox, you're devoid of real shape. You look like you're made out of plastic, but also you end up having color changes like that. That one has mistakes. So if you're going to go this way, do that, then add a mask to that, right? And then gently brush back in. And I'm going to go some, if I need to explain this later, at very slow percentages, brush back in some shape. So there. So this is the nothing. And then that's the shape, right? So it brings back some of what's naturally there. And why? Because I'm masking in again the effect. So that's the before and after. Right there is more logical than the before and after. When you complete the healing tool, leaves you completely shaped, right? So it's not, you don't want to completely have flat there. That would make no sense. So anyway, these are 3 ways. There's one more that's really cool. I'll show you next time. But here I showed you with levels, here with dodge and burn, and here with the healing tool, different ways to take care of different lines. And again, I applied it to things like, let me go to 0, to big areas or to as tiny areas as each line. As the idea is you lighten the light parts, you darken the dark parts, and then you mask it a little bit. You just softly brush it in to even out those deepnesses of contrasts. Let me just go over here, and I'm going to take all of these things we did just so that I can really quickly, I'm going to put them all, not the color of the hats, but the changes in okay, so now watch this entire photo now. If I turn this eyeball on or off, on or off. Okay, so it's minor little things that you barely notice. By the time you turn them all on and off at the same time, there is a change there. You see that? Again, this wasn't a bad photo to start with. Sometimes you're working with like it's not a good photo either. It's just a snapshot, but you can even make a snapshot better. If you're trying to do a portrait that's a really good portrait, then all the attention to detail that we're paying right now really pays off. I didn't do anything with my hair over there. Anyway, you guys keep retouching me. Do a screenshot of all the different layers that we've been doing and all the different choice, options that you've been trying. And then keep working on me. I have a Band-Aid there. Maybe you can lighten the shadow of the Band-Aid. You won't be able to take the Band-Aid off, but you can maybe lighten the shadow so it doesn't look like I have this weird scar on the right side of my face, right? So if you look close, it'll still look like a Band-Aid. But by lightening that darkness there, it can just be a bit less of an issue. Anyway, all right. I'm gonna have to stop because I did promise my husband I'd go help him with the Christmas sale. And it's raining and he was kind of miserable. So I'll see you guys next Friday.
Thank you,
Okay.
Diana.
Thank
All
you.
right. play around, take one of your own images of, not like your own face, but your own, take a picture and do some retouching on it of this kind, where you maybe take the wrinkles out of a tree, a bark tree, I don't care, but just do some of this thing where you have to go lighter and darker and then masking it out until you get to some middle point that works. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Deanna.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.